This year's biggest events are on Fox Sports. Home to the World Series, Super Bowl 39, and in February, the 2005 Daytona 500. This is a presentation of Fox Sports. The NFL is full of big names and none bigger than Manning. First, there was... Then...
Touchdown! And who's the MVP? You better believe it.
And now...
With the first choice of the 2004 NFL Draft.
The Giants and New Yorkers everywhere pin the hope for the future on their guy Eli and look to a former MVP to mentor their young star. With a new no-nonsense coach, there are big expectations in the big city. The Carolina Panthers were last year's Cinderella story, making it all the way to the Super Bowl.
What a valiant effort by the Carolina Panthers. They did everything but win this game.
Starting tonight, Jake Delhomme and his team are out to prove that 03 was no fluke and grab that ultimate prize they got so close to last season. It's the NFL on Fox Preseason Special.
Former MVP Kurt Warner and much ballyhooed rookie Eli Manning both in a dogfight for the Giants starting job. Tonight, we'll find out who will get a leg up in this heated quarterback competition. Meanwhile, it's all good for the defending NFC champs. Carolina's top offensive weapons, Jake Delhomme and Steve Smith, both looking to show folks they're not just one-year wonders. The New York Giants and their new head coach, Tom Coughlin, battle the Carolina Panthers in a Fox preseason special. And hello, everyone, and welcome to this Fox NFL preseason special brought to you by Ford. I'm James Brown, and folks joining me as they did 11 years ago. They smiled 11 years ago. What happened, Jimmy?
Oh, I don't know. We got a little bit older, lost a little bit of hair, looks like. I don't know. But,
Jimmy Johnson, the stud, Howie Long, and the world
smiling
traveler.
when you tell us about this tour.
Hey, I'll tell you all about it.
You been on tour?
11 years we've been on this show. And finally this year, because I'm the one up here who truly loves football, I tried to visit as many of these teams as I could. And notice here, folks, I went to Manhattan, Hempstead, Albany, Providence, Foxborough, back to Providence, Baltimore, Westminster with the Rams, Ashburn with the Redskins, Orlando, Nashville, Dallas, Lehigh, Terre Haute, Indiana, Macomb, Green Bay, Red Wing, Minnesota, River Falls, Charlotte, Spartanburg, Dallas again, Oakland, Napa, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and then over to the Chargers, and I'm not through yet. This week I'll travel to Minnesota, then up to Seattle. Got a lot of friends up there.
Has he made a mistake already, Howard?
You know, that's nice that you're traveling, but I thought you were just going around mending fences for all the people you've trashed over the last 11 years.
If you do this show and you do it right, Jimmy, and you will learn, you will hurt some people's feelings.
Is Westminster, is that next to Westminster where they have the dog show?
We will find out why Terry is on this aggressive tour.
Don't be
Coming up at halftime, it will be a part of the regular season stuff. Let me go to Jimmy to find out who's going to be a part of the regular season rotation for the Giants. Eli, should we read anything into him starting tonight?
Well, Tom Coughlin said right up front, this is going to be an open competition for the quarterback job. And the only way that it's going to be an open competition is if Eli Manning works with a first-team offense, he works against a first-team defense for the opponent. And we all know backups sometimes look pretty good against other backups. So to get a fair shot at this job, he had to start this game tonight.
That is almost as ridiculous as him loving football and going out on the road.
No,
This job is locked up. Eli Manning is the guy. Ernie Accorsi in 1983 with the then Baltimore Colts drafted a guy who he felt like was a once-in-a-generation player, John Elway. That got away from him. He's been chasing that ghost ever since. He felt like Eli Manning was the once-in-a-generation player. He gave up Phillip Rivers and a fourth-round pick, a first-rounder and a fifth-rounder next year for him. Just the only question is this: do you start him versus Philadelphia in Philadelphia, or do you throw who to the Wolves?
Oh, yeah, throw Kurt Warner to the Wolves and then bring in Eli later on because he's going to be your future.
Kurt, but
hey, Terry,
I agree.
Hey, the guy, if they're equal, shouldn't you play the young guy?
You play the kid. You got a new coach, bring in a young quarterback, play him. Let him get out there and play him.
Get him ready.
That was a direct shot at you. It's
I know.
Westminster,
Trust
right
me,
next to
I know.
Westminster.
But
All right.
But look, I've read this
As
stuff.
the guys mentioned, all eyes will be on the Giants,
Tired.
Eli Manning and Kurt Warner tonight. But let's not forget the Panthers beginning their quest to get back to the Super Bowl. Our championship caliber announcers led by Joe Buck calling the action.
Thank you, JB. Terry looks great for all that traveling he's been doing. The Carolina Panthers are getting ready to come on the field and excite these home fans for the first time since they appeared in Super Bowl 38. This is actually a tough ticket. Preseason football, the Carolina Panthers and the New York Giants. And now welcome to the broadcast booth, everybody. I'm Joe Buck, along with Troy Aikman, Chris Collinsworth. We are back. Chris, I think it was on your HBO show last year that you picked the Carolina Panthers to come in dead stinking last. They end up in the Super Bowl representing the NFC. They're not getting the respect they deserve around the league. Have you changed your mind?
If I had gone with the Arizona Cardinals as you did, I would have felt much better about everything. But, you know, it really is amazing. This is the time of year that everybody's picking their Super Bowl teams, and they're talking about the New England Patriots and so many other teams, and hardly anybody's mentioning the Carolina Panthers, the team that almost knocked off the New England Patriots in that Super Bowl. And do they have issues? Sure they do. You have to wonder, can Jake Delhomme get it done again? Some problems on the offensive line, awfully young back there in the secondary. But when you watch this team run the football, when you watch the way they play defense, especially with that front seven, it's just hard for me to believe that they're not going to be right back in the hunt come January.
I want to hear about the quarterback situation with the Giants from the quarterback, but bigger than that, the Giants were one of the big disappointments across the NFL last year. They changed the head coach, and Tom Coughlin really changed this roster all the way over. I mean, there are a lot of new guys here.
Well, there really are. There's no question, Joe. Last season was a disappointment. They had Super Bowl hopes. They go out and they go 4-12. Tom Coughlin is brought in as the head coach in order to instill some discipline with this team. The big question, however, is what's going on at quarterback. Of course, Kurt Warner, he's here, two-time league MVP, but the guy that everybody wants to talk about, and rightfully so, is Eli Manning. I've had an opportunity to watch him play, and there's no doubt that this guy is going to be a big-time quarterback in this league for a long time. He's got great pocket presence. He's got a tremendous arm. He understands the offense at this stage in training camp. And the big question right now really is, when is he going to begin that process? Well, tonight he's playing against a great defensive football team in Carolina, and how he performs tonight will go a long way in helping Tom Coughlin decide who's going to start that opener against Philadelphia.
Let's say this. If the die was cast coming into camp that Kurt Warner would be the starter, Eli Manning eventually would come off the bench and replace him sometime during the season, Eli Manning can maybe play his way into that starting lineup on opening day at Philadelphia with the way he plays this preseason. A big start for him. He takes on the Panthers and Jake Delhomme. We're glad you're with us. A special for you on Fox. Carolina and New York coming up.
Sports welcomes you to the following presentation of the National Football League.
Jake Delhomme is ready to go. He's loaded with that new big contract. So is Eli Manning, and we welcome in the fourth member of our team, and it is just that, a team. Here's Pam Oliver.
Hey, Joe, of course, Eli Manning gets the start tonight, but what people really want to know if he's going to be the starter opening day and beyond. Spend a little time with Eli Manning, and you get the sense that he is not in this huge hurry to take over that starting job, despite a very interesting battle with Kurt Warner. In this case, it seems greatness may have to wait.
The most important thing for me right now is just, learn the system, get in these preseason games, get a feel for the game, and making smart decisions. And those are things I'm trying to do in practice. And these preseason games, I think, will just help me and just see what things I need to work on. So those are things I'm concerned with right now, not opening day against Philadelphia right now.
And not wanting to go the way of Carson Palmer either. Eli says playing time throughout the season for him would be ideal. But Joe, of course, he says that whatever the Giants need or want him to do, he is cool with that. Back to you.
All right, Pam, and cool with that big dollar contract. And he's classy like his brother, classy like his mom and his dad. Says all the right things. And Chris, you've got that little wrinkle with your mouth. I don't think you're buying any of that.
I don't buy any of it. I think that guy is one of the more competitive people that you'll meet. That family is one of the most competitive families, and he wants more than anything to be the starter on opening day. He knows how to talk a good talk, but I'm not buying any of it.
We're going to get an early look at him, and eventually a look at Kurt Warner. Casey ready to kick. Willie Ponder is waiting deep. Ponder from inside the end zone takes it out, doesn't get to the 20. Well covered downfield by Carl Hankton, and here is a guy who set one record after another at Ole Miss. And now he is thrown right into the mix here, protected by an offensive line that is right now trying to find an identity. And if you're trying to find an identity and protect a franchise quarterback, this might not be the team you want to try it against. The front seven of this Carolina Panthers defense. How are they going to come after the kid? Penalty flag comes out. Looked like Carolina may have jumped across early, and a gain of 8 on a completion to Ike Hilliard. We'll wait and see who it's against. He even knows how to decline a penalty.
Offside, 90, defense. Penalties declined, second down.
Take a look at the rest of the offense for the New York Giants. Tiki Barber, Jim Finn is the fullback. They have Stackhouse back, a late sign. Toomer and Hilliard, and the tight end right now filling in for Jeremy Shockey is Vysanti Shenko. That'll be the last time I say his full name. Second down and 2. That's a toss. Tiki Barber trying to pick his way for a first down. And Barber picks it up for the Giants. A nifty little run and a fresh set for New York.
I think it's interesting the way the Giants are handling Eli Manning. You go back to last week in their first preseason game. Their first play of the game with Eli Manning underneath the center was an empty set formation. They come out today and they come out with a pass, and Carolina decides to blitz him. He saw a lot of blitzes last week against Kansas City, did very well handling that, and Carolina has the same approach.
Extra wide receiver Juwan Dawson, who the Giants love, is in the lineup. And a delayed handoff to Barber, who's met in the backfield and goes nowhere. A loss of 1. And it's great to see Mark Fields back on the field for the Carolina Panthers. He is behind that very good defensive front, which is signed through 2007. And that reaction you hear from the crowd is for Mark Fields, who is 1 year and 1 day removed from being diagnosed with Hodgkin's disease. And there are question marks in the secondary as the Panthers have lost Reggie Howard to Miami and Terry Cousin to the Giants. The blue line is the line of scrimmage this year on Fox. The yellow line, obviously, where you have to go for a first down. Little slant. That's Toomer. And Amani Toomer is brought down a yard shy of the first down. That'll bring up 3rd.
Well, what you saw there is Amani Toomer on the backside. The defense rotated from a 2-deep look, all of a sudden dropping the safety down. Eli Manning recognizes he's got one-on-one on the outside. Comes to Amani Toomer on the slant route. A good job. We saw already earlier Eli Manning making some checks at the line of scrimmage. It's obvious that they're putting a lot on this young man's shoulders early in his career to see how much he can handle.
There's also a lot on Ron Dane, who's a running back right now on 3rd and 1. Tom Coughlin wants to see him move a pile and get a first down, and he does not. That is the big knock on the former first-round draft pick Ron Dane. He missed on a couple of short yardage situations last week, and he he doesn't do it on his first try here.
How much longer is the experiment going to go on? I mean, Ron Dayne has proven time and time again that he's not a short yardage or a goal line back. He just doesn't have the explosion into the line of scrimmage that some other backs do. Now, we saw him last week break off a couple of nice runs. He is a tailback. He is not a power football player, and it's just time to admit it.
Waiting for it is Steve Smith from inside the 20 after a 43-yard punt from Jeff Feagles. You feel better now, Chris?
I do.
You fired one off already. It's week 2. You feel all right?
He's been waiting 5 months for that.
No score. Working on Eli's helmet over on the sideline. What do you do with a new 6-year, $38 million deal? You buy a new tractor. That's what you do if you're Jake Delhomme. Not a flashy guy, and he wasn't all year, except he had a knack at the end of a game when the Panthers needed to go down and get a score to win a ball game. This guy did it time after time after time.
7 times to be exact, and you're right. He just had an uncanny ability of coming up with a big play at the bleakest of moments when it didn't look like anything was there. And as well as he played in those games to pull out some of those wins, his playoff performance in those 4 games was even more impressive.
If there are question marks across the offensive line for the Giants, there are certainly the same for the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers will start with a throw, and wide open over the middle is their tight end Mangum. And he's out to the 35, a gain of 18.
Well, the good news is, even though Jake took a shot just as he threw that ball, they did get it blocked up front, and that's really the only question, Troy, that I have about this football team is can they get it protected up front? They're a run-first team, but if they do get it protected, you've got to like this offense after the way they finished last year.
Fred Robbins with the late pressure and another empty set behind Delhomme. That's Mangum on the move, and another throw from Jake. Cole coming back to get it. That was pretty. And a first down inside the 45. What a good throw that was.
Really a great throw, and you can tell Carolina right now, they're wanting to show a few things. They're wanting Green Bay to see some of the things that they're working on. Right now, they're showing a lot of empty set formation. Right here, Jake Delhomme again gets some time to throw. Good coverage up the field by Will Allen, but it's that fade stop on the back shoulder to Ricky Prohl, and just about impossible to defend.
Gain of 23. This Giants defense was thrashed last week by Kansas City in the first half. A toss to Stephen Davis running left, and Tim Lewis has got to be thinking, I hope we don't go through that again. Look at this defense, and will they get pressure up front? And who are going to be the linebackers? That's the big question for the Giants. A lot of new faces. In fact, Michael Strahan is the lone holdover among the front 7 for this team. But this isn't even the starting lineup group, Chris, for the Giants. They are so banged up with their linebackers.
And I think the big question is, can they replace Mike Barrow at middle linebacker? That really is going to be an issue throughout the course of this season.
Second down and 9. Stephen Davis again straight ahead. Gets to the 37, a gain of 3.
It's interesting to watch some of the pass protections early in this game already. Matt Willig is the guy on the playing the right tackle position, and all eyes are going to be on him, especially in this ball game, because he's going against Michael Strahan. And I think there's just some doubts about whether or not this line that they've sort of put together with so many changes, can they hold up? Matt has been sort of a backup in the league the last couple of years, and now he's in a very key position for this football team.
Stussy is gone. He's with Tampa. Left guard Geno James signed a big deal with Miami. Mitchell is back. Donnelly retired, and Jordan Gross is now the left tackle. He was at the right side last year. Going for a big ball to Muhammad, and it's incomplete. That'll bring up 4th down.
Well, and to follow up on the offensive line play, you know, Matt Willig, he didn't even come into this training camp projected as being the starter. Of course, he had been practicing because Adam Meadows, who they brought in from Indianapolis, he was supposed to be the starting right tackle. He retired because of an arthritic condition in his shoulder. And across the board, they've just got some different guys. Rich Tilsky, the right guard, he's been out of football the last 2 years. Tutan Reyes, he's not even had an offensive snap as an offensive lineman in his career.
This is Casey trying to 55-yarder. And he's long enough and good. The only original Panther remaining. Re-signed to a contract extension's got a big leg. Hits from 55. And the Panthers are on the board first. Chris, are you going to bring up the kickoff out of bounds in the Super Bowl, or should I?
Why don't you do it, Joe?
Casey kicked off out of bounds at the end of the Super Bowl, and the Patriots took it from their 40 down the field. Vinatieri hit the game-winning field goal, and that was it. But he's got the big leg. He proves it again as he hits from 55 yards, and a good start for Jake and the crew. And now Sauerbrunn kicks it away for Carolina. Ponder again. A little more head of steam, but he ran into a rock. That, my friends, is Ricky Manning Jr. And he hit him hard enough for junior and senior. And the third and the fourth, wham! Giants have it across their own 30.
This Fox NFL special is brought to you by the next Ford F-150, 2004 Motor Trend Truck of the Year, by Nike, by Miller, vote Miller for President of Beers, good call, and by Wendy's Kids Meals, now with delicious new choices.
Tom Coughlin is almost, I'm not going to say totally frustrated, but he is annoyed at his reputation that really was pinned on him when he started with Jacksonville about being a stickler for the details and being a guy who likes to pound during training camp and whatever. But when you see these Giants come on the field, it looks like something out of the movie Drumline. I mean,
details, attention to details, Joe. That's what it is.
Don't sweat the small stuff. However, they even have a choreographed way they enter the field, which Giants fans will, I'm sure, enjoy as the season wears on. First down for New York as they trail by 3. Is the cadence of Eli Manning that good?
I tell you what, that's what that is a smart quarterback. When you're playing against a group like this up front defensively, you know, that's a quarterback's best friend, is using the cadence to your advantage. Nice job.
91 defense, 5-yard penalty, still first down.
It's kind of funny talking to him last night when he said we brought up the fact he was playing against his Panther defense. He's like, nice group to have to start against. He knew what he was up against tonight.
First down and 5. Almost jumped again. And this is Dane bouncing it outside. Gain of 3. Second down and 2 coming up. This is how organized Tom Coughlin has the Giants. This is how the Cowboys came on the field back in the early 90s.
Yeah, you kidding me?
Our guys couldn't have pulled this off.
If we had everybody out there by the time the kickoff started, we were fortunate.
If they spelled out New York at the end of that, now you've got some. Or go Giants. Second down and 2. Fake toss to Barber, and the pass complete to Hilliard. Good move. And Ike Hilliard gets it inside the 40. A gain of 22 yards for the Giants.
I really like what the Giants are doing right now. They are just making it easy on Eli. They haven't put him in any situation where he's going to have to sit back on a 7-step drop and face this pass rush from the Panthers. A couple of rollouts, a couple of flanker screens, some different things to get him into the ball game, and you can tell he's getting comfortable.
And one of the things we noticed there, these offensive linemen, they've been well conditioned, as you can imagine, throughout the offseason. A good job there of them getting out and leading the way.
Tiki Barber. Good play by Minter coming up from the safety spot. And a gain of only 2. This week, Troy, on Fox Saturday Baseball, the Red Sox will try to keep it going in that wild card race. They take on the White Sox, or it's the Indians who are surprising everybody this year against the Twins, trying to make up ground in the AL Central. Braves, Dodgers, Mets, Giants. Coverage begins at 1 Eastern and Pacific on Fox. Marcellus Rivers in the lineup for New York. That's him moving around. Second down and 8. Manning airing it out. He's got Toomer. Incomplete. Toomer had beaten Gamble, and Manning is thinking about what might have been.
Well, and this is the pocket presence that I talked about earlier. You watch Eli Manning as he feels pressure, he steps up as he should. That's the comfort of the pocket. He's got his shot at Amani Toomer. It looked like Amani Toomer, once he got by the rookie Gamble, slowed down just a bit and was unable to get underneath that pass, but an awfully good throw by Eli Manning.
Jawan Dawson in the lineup on 3rd down and 8. Play clock is gone. So that will cost the rookie quarterback 5 yards.
Delay of game, offense, 5-yard penalty, still 3rd down.
Attention to detail, Chris.
There it is again. And, you know, really it's to the Giants and Eli Manning's advantage to have this kind of a crowd. Usually you don't get this sort of emotion in a preseason game, but coming off the Super Bowl and the crowd really got into it, and he had a little feel for what it might be like in Philadelphia on opening day.
He won't have any idea what it's like even after this game. I can promise you that.
3rd and 13. Plenty of time for Manning. He drops it underneath. That's Toomer, who is shy of 1st down yardage.
You know, the one thing about it is when you follow this team throughout the mini camps and when they went into training camp, it seemed like most of the veteran players were under the impression, certainly, that Kurt Warner, no question, would be the starter for this team, and he very well might be. But you could tell that as the weeks have gone on and the practices have gone on, Eli Manning has really gained the respect of these players, and that he might be the guy on opening day.
It's time to see what the Giants have in Todd France, who's filling in for the injured Bill Gramatica. 51-yard try. That could go a long way in helping Todd France be the kicker on opening day.
And you have to give Eli Manning a little credit for that, taking the underneath to set up the field goal.
Tom Coughlin just looked downright giddy. 51 yards, it's good. They celebrate. 3-3. Eli Manning gets the Giants in position. Todd France hits a 51-yarder. Tom Coughlin so happy. He's such a stickler for detail, especially on special teams. And without Bill Gramatica, France kicks it off short to the 10. This is Rod Smart. He gets it outside the 30, and we look at a penalty flag. Way back in the area of an offside. And a rule change is that the Panthers can tack on 5 yards to the end of the run back if they so choose.
Offside, 35 of the kicking team. That 5-yard penalty will be assessed into the run. 1st down.
So they'll get it at their own 37, and we look around the NFL at the new coaches that will pop up this year. Former teammate of Chris's, Mike Mularkey, is with Buffalo. Norv Turner in Oakland. Jim Mora Jr. will have Michael Vick to work with in Atlanta. Lovie Smith from the Rams takes over the Bears. Denny Green tried on a new good-looking red blazer. And Joe Gibbs is back with the Washington Redskins. We'll see him next week in St. Louis. The opening weekend at home taking on the Buccaneers. On 1st down over the middle. Pass is complete. 5-yard gain on a completion to Mangum.
You know, I think of those coaches we just saw that Mike Mularkey may have the quickest success, and I know him well, but the reason I say that is because they had the defense in place, one of the top defenses in the league. Willis McGahee coming in there, Jimmy McNally, the offensive line coach. Mularkey does a great job with the running game and passing game, but I just feel like that's a team, especially with the problems going on in Miami right now, that could really pop up this year.
Troy, I don't believe that Bledsoe is as bad as his stats indicated that he was last year. Penalty flag is down as Davis is knocked out at the 45.
Well, there's always more that goes into the play of a quarterback than just his own play. But the one thing about it, that when you look at all these coaches that are new and going into their first season with these clubs, the one thing they do bring is optimism. And these are clubs that struggled. Obviously, that's why there's a change at that position. And these teams really have nothing to get excited about.
Offside. nose tackle, defense. 5-yard penalty results in a first down.
They have nothing to get excited about or enthusiastic about, but when there is, in fact, a coaching change, now you've got a new leader, you've got a guy coming in being optimistic and saying why we're going to be able to turn things around, and that's good for those clubs.
It's a first down for Carolina in a 3-3 game. Panthers will play their starting offensive unit for the entire first half. Delhomme being chased, dumps it off. The pass complete to Smith for a first down. Penalty flag back at midfield. And they're going to call offensive pass interference.
Well, you see Jake Delhomme, and that's really when he's at his best, is when he's able to run around and create some plays on his own. And then, of course, there was a penalty on the play on the offense.
Pass interference, offense, number 86. 10-yard penalty, still first down.
So away from the play, that's Mangum.
Well, there's so much for coming in and playing the Carolina Panthers and think you're going to work on the running game. The Giants, I think, really wanted to see what they were going to do to stop the run, and Panthers come out and spread formations, and you'll see Mangum get a good solid push on Sean Williams. Easy call that one.
First and 20. Four-man rush, wide open. Another first down. That's Smith. Inside the 25.
Well, again, they go to the empty set. We've seen a lot of that already here in this ball game. They double Strahan to try to secure the edge. Delhomme's got some room to step up and make the throw, but the problem here is they never get a jam on Smith, and they let him run completely free up the field. With a speed receiver like that and big play capabilities, you've got to be able to get your hands on him at least within the first 5 yards.
And with that new illegal contact rule, you better get up there close or they'll make the call on you.
Delhomme. Hey, it's Smith. Still going. A leap and out of bounds inside the 10. What a way for Steve Smith to end the year last year. A tremendous postseason. The wild card game against Dallas. The 70-yard catch and run on the third play from scrimmage set up a field goal. The division playoff against St. Louis and that 69-yard touchdown catch in double overtime to win the game for Carolina. And then this little leap here in week 2 of the preseason after the Panthers made it a point to lock him up.
He's truly one of the most competitive guys at the wide receiver position you'll find in the league. Remember the catch he made to beat Tampa Bay right here.
Play clock was at 1, and Jake Delhomme has to burn a timeout. The ball at the 7 in this tie game. Jake Delhomme, who at one point not that long ago was a backup in NFL Europe, became the second unrestricted free agent to take a team to the Super Bowl in his first year. Dilfer's the other. He did it obviously in a win over the Giants. On this drive, Delhomme is 3 for 3 for 61 yards, and these Panther fans have to be excited. If there are any worries that this guy was going to be a one-year wonder. Looks solid here in week 2. First and goal. Muhammad, touchdown. No flags.
Well, and what a nice job by Carolina taking the ball and driving down the field. That's what you want to do in a preseason game like this. Jake Delhomme playing with a lot of confidence in this ball game. Muhsin Muhammad, who's just been outstanding and throughout training camp, uses his big body and his size here in order to shield off Will Allen and come down with a touchdown.
And for the New York Giants defensively, this is the second straight week that their first unit has really been lit up. Kansas City hit them hard in the first half. 263 yards passing, 19 first downs, and so far Jake Delhomme and the Panthers doing the exact same thing.
You hear so much about these two young corners, Will Allen and Will Peterson, and I would say right now The jury for the moment, the part of Tim Lewis and Tom Coughlin, has got to be out on the way these two young guys are playing. And I don't even know that they're in the category of exactly young anymore. Allen's 26 and Peterson's 25 and just got a new 5-year deal.
Well, that's a concern. There's no question. In talking with Tim Lewis, and he talked about that they did not play well last week in their game. And then also, these guys have been banged up. Last year, Will Peterson having the back injury. He's coming off of that. Will Allen with the foot. He's been limited at some in practice and what he's been able to do. But there's no question that if this Giants defense is going to be the defense that Tim Lewis would like for them to be, these two corners, Will Peterson and Will Allen, have got to play better than what they've shown so far in camp.
You just wonder if they're completely healthy, and with all the time away, if their timing is back, and certainly the linebackers being out is going to be a part of the mix, but it has been a major struggle defensively so far for the Giants in both their games.
Now Eli Manning will have a chance to try and answer DeLong as Willie Ponder takes it, his third return, and lost it. The ball into the air and still loose. A scramble for it, and it looked like the Giants got back on top of it. They did, but for Tom Coughlin, who pays so much attention to the special teams, this will not do any good for Willie Ponder. Brandon Short, former Giant, knocked it out.
Willie Ponder had such a great day returning kicks last week, and so far he's been greeted rudely here.
Omar Smith recovered it for the Giants, and now Manning has to deal with the crowd. In the end zone, he gets rid of it. Peppers was on him, and the pass was in the vicinity of Marcellus Rivers. No flag.
Troy, this is what I think rookie quarterbacks do. They bail too soon. There really was not any pressure to speak of. There's a nice pocket. If it's not there, you're going to have to just throw the football away when you're down that close to the goal line. He essentially almost ran into a safety.
Well, the one good thing he did do was get rid of the football and not take the sack for the safety. But yeah, there's a mental clock. And you know when time starts running down that somehow you got to unload it. More times than not, that means scrambling to do it.
Handoff is to Dane. He goes nowhere. Let's go down to Pam Oliver.
Hey, Joe, and one of the guys making it difficult for Manning out there on the field is Mark Fields, and that he's even out there marbles everyone, including Fields himself. He told me he has absolutely no lingering effects from all those rounds of chemotherapy and radiation, and he really credits two people, Sam Mills, his position coach, and Merrill Hodge, the former player, for helping him through those dark, dark days. Excited with what he expects to be on opening day, but just grateful for football and life. It's what he feels now.
Thanks, Pam. Two guys who have been through a similar process. It's third down. Manning flushed and throws it over the head of Ike Hilliard. How about that 1 year and a day from being diagnosed with Hodgkin's disease? 2 years ago, he had a great year, led this team in tackles. He was kind of an inspirational leader around this ball club last year, and I'm sure it pained him to not be on the field when this Carolina team was in the Super Bowl. And there's Sam Mills, who was such a great linebacker and person in his own right. As Fiegels lets it fly, Steve Smith is waiting from inside the 40. Nowhere to go. Well covered downfield. Another penalty flag back near the line of scrimmage.
What's the high-low number for the number of flags we'll see tonight? 20?
I was going to say 20.
All right. We'll keep track.
I'm surprised we haven't seen any for illegal contact yet on the defense.
That's all they talked about when they met with us, wasn't it?
And that's all we've seen in these other preseason games. A lot of flags being thrown on that new rule that's being emphasized.
During the kick, holding 53 of the kicking team. 10-yard penalty from the spot where the kick ends. First down.
Let's take a look at the penalty. It was on Brandon Short, who started for the Giants last year. Now is in a backup role for Carolina and called his number a couple times already. Let's say this, as far as illegal contact and defensive holding, it's not a new rule, but it's a point of emphasis.
Yeah, I was wrong. It's not a new rule. We're just emphasizing it a little bit more.
After the passing numbers were down last year. Delhomme is sacked. The pocket collapsed, and Michael Strahan was there for the Giants.
Well, you can already see the difference in the secondary and the way that defenses have to approach it. You'll see that once they get beyond 5 yards, you don't get the typical pushing and leaning and grabbing and pulling of the jerseys and all the things that we saw, especially in the playoffs a season ago. Essentially, these wide receivers are being allowed to run free. Just need time to get it down the field, and Michael Strahan doesn't make that easy.
Second down and 16 now. 2 minutes to go in the first quarter. Handoff is to Foster. Troy, I know you were impressed with a couple of runs by Deshaun Foster last postseason.
Well, I really was. Yeah, I thought he started to come on as he started to get more and more opportunities. And that's the thing, really, that this Carolina offense is going to have to try to decide what they're going to do with these two running backs. Deshaun Foster, certainly a talented guy. As you mentioned, he showed that during the playoff games last year. And then Stephen Davis, of course, the year that he had rushing the football, and they're both very different in style. So that's a dilemma that this offensive staff has, because I know they would like to see Deshaun Foster be a little bit more involved.
Third down and 13. Delhomme, plenty of time, and that was nearly picked off by Sean Williams. He flashed in front, and it went right through his hands.
Yeah, and Sean Williams, he actually was the safety who came up on that play before and made the big tackle. And here he almost gets an interception, and you know, he got hurt last year as well, coming off a knee injury, missed some time at the end of last season, and a guy that they expect a lot from this year. He's never really lived up to the billing that he's had when he came into the league, and they expect a lot of great things this season.
Avion Black is waiting deep for the Giants. A chance for him to impress Tom Coughlin. And a penalty flag flies. Gerard Cooper made the stop. Peterson was back there trying to help block, and after a 53-yard punt, only a 3-yard return.
Anytime you see the defender in that trail position and he puts his hands at all on the defender.
During the return, illegal block in the bag, 23 of the kicking team. 10-yard penalty, first down.
I tell you, that's the easiest call the official will have all year.
Next week, we will be in St. Louis to see Mike Martz and the St. Louis Rams, and Marshall Falk and Mark Bulger take on Joe Gibbs and the Washington Redskins. That's next Friday night, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, right here on Fox.
I've had a chance to watch both of the Redskins preseason games so far, and it's clear they don't understand Joe's offense yet. You can see with the way they're trying to run the football and those counter trays, they just don't quite get it yet.
They lost a good one when they lost John Jansen for the year. Handoff is to Tiki Barber. Shows his speed and gets a first down.
You know, you talk about Joe Gibbs, and a lot of people have said, how's he going to be able to adjust to the game now that things have changed, as we see Tiki Barber use his speed to get to the outside, the blocking out there by Ike Hilliard. Good job getting out on the corner, but Joe Gibbs, a lot of the things that the Redskins were doing back in the early 90s are some of the same things that you're seeing from the St. Louis Rams and some of these other successful offenses. Joe Gibbs came up with a lot of those principles.
You mentioned St. Louis, and I wonder how many people are in St. Louis watching tonight, waiting to see.
Snap, full start, 77, offense, 5-yard penalty, still first down.
They're waiting to see Kurt Warner, to see what he has left. He has still such a huge fan base in St. Louis. Now he's with the Giants, trying to either tutor Eli Manning or take this team at the beginning of the season. And we'll see him at some point here tonight in Carolina. Jeremy Shockey, who practiced 2 times on Tuesday trying to get healthy. Could be the final play of the quarter. Wow. Up to make the stop, Julius Peppers, and a gain of only 2. A lot of penalties, a lot of yellow out there. That is not something that Tom Coughlin likes. 10-3, Carolina after one. It is a 10-3 Carolina lead. We begin the second quarter and look at the first quarter numbers. Total of 8 penalties so far. 20 might be low. Time of possession, the Giants have the edge there, but the Panthers lead it. And it's second down and 13 for Eli Manning. Buckner with a big push and a dump off to Barber. Tiki Barber in the open field has a first down for the Giants out to the 40.
Tell you, Joe, it looked like Brenson Buckner did jump early, got across the line before the ball was snapped. I'll tell you, he timed it awfully well, actually, but they had the perfect call on. Fortunately for Eli, they had the screen to Tiki Barber. And then he makes the rest happen. Again, the offensive line, the blocking out there by the wide receivers, give him a little bit of help, but most of that's Tiki Barber. And as you can see, which has been well emphasized throughout the offseason and training camp, the way he protected the ball as he was going down.
Tiki had some issues last year, didn't he, with the fumbling problems. They think they have them addressed and solved, but it was a major factor last year.
6 fumbles lost each of the last 2 years. Manning fires. What a catch by Toomer. They're going to call Toomer down just shy of the 37, and as good as the catch was, how about the throw?
It was great on both ends. I mean, you talk about the big-time arm of Eli Manning. Watch this. He throws it the only place he could put it. Chris Gamble in great coverage.
How about Amani Toomer getting away with an old pro push-off right here? Chris Gamble, the rookie, is just he's gonna lean into him, push off a little bit. Now Gamble, instead of going back to make the tackle, is starting to complain to the officials. Great play by Amani Toomer.
Blitz coming. Manning throws it to Rivers. Right there we see Eli Manning throwing it to the side where the blitz came from. And I think, you know, with all that comes in with being the #1 pick and now playing in New York and all of the deal that went on with San Diego and the money and all that, you have to really be impressed with the way Eli Manning is playing.
Well, I don't think there's any question. I mean, there's a lot of pressure on this young man. There's no doubt about that. He's come out, he's handled it very well. He has said all the right things, as you would expect. But I'm just real impressed with the way he's handled himself in these preseason games.
First down, play action. Manning gets away from Buckner. Throws on the run for Finn as fullback, and Jim Finn isn't going to catch that.
Now, Joe, I got to tell you also, these preseason games are really somewhat misleading for a young quarterback. I went through it and felt that it was just really an exaggerated extension of college football. And, you know, it's a lot like going in as a baseball player and taking batting practice. And then when you go into that first game, all of a sudden you got Roger Clemens throwing a 98-mile-an-hour fastball at you. And that's what he's going to see whenever he gets in. You know, I mean, when he plays, we don't know, but whenever that time is, it's going to be a big adjustment for him.
And how many times have we heard it already that opening day is against Philadelphia Eagles and Jim Johnson, the defensive coordinator, that could throw anything at you. And so if there's one huge advantage for Kurt Warner in my mind in this decision-making process, it's the fact that they have to open in Philadelphia.
And so if for no other reason to protect the young body of Eli Manning against that Philadelphia defense.
And you have an offensive line with the New York Giants that is unproven at best at this point as well.
Well, they gave up a lot of sacks last year, and obviously that's going to play a big part in when Eli Manning plays and how this offense is going to produce.
Offensive line tonight's been pretty good against a very good defensive front. Another blitz coming. Manning fires and incomplete. Little hand checking going on, Gamble and Toomer, and that'll bring up 4th down and the field goal unit onto the field.
We've seen Chris Gamble on a few plays. I think he's done a good job, really. It's been some good throws, but Carolina was really shocked that he was available when it got closer to their pick. They moved up 4 spots in order to take him, and they really felt that he would be a higher pick in the first round. They were fortunate to get him, and they're certainly happy to get their other guy in the second round, the wide receiver Kerry Colbert. It was a good draft overall for the Carolina Panthers.
41-yard drive. France is 2 for 2. Is he smiling? Is Tom Coughlin smiling? Manning takes the team to, he's clapping. It's 10-6 Panthers. Giants get 3 more points. Troy, you talk about that live ammo when you start as opposed to preseason. You started against New Orleans, lost 28-zip, and you were pressured by the likes of Sam Mills, Pat Swilling, all those studs with the Saints. I mean, that's live ammo.
You remember that game better than I do.
Well,
Maybe a reason for that.
yeah, I was going to say, we all know why he had to leave. Popped outside, Rod Smart. And he is just collared down by Frank Walker. A return of 20 yards. Carolina gets it back. They lead by 4.
This Fox NFL special is brought to you by Saturn, People First, by new M3 Power from Gillette. Feel the power of the world's best shave. And by Visa, proud sponsor of the NFL.
Tutankhamun Reyes. Mother named him after seeing a King Tut exhibit in New York. Yes. Little Steve Martin for you.
A young man, he never thought he'd see.
John thought it was funny.
People stand in line to see the boy king. How'd you get so funky? Did you do the monkey?
Born in Arizona, moved to Babylonia, King Tut.
Gotta love preseason.
You're saying that that would not happen in League One. I'm saying it would. We'll see. Who do they have? Green Bay?
Let him go, baby.
That's Smith, and that's Peterson knocking him down after a gain of 8.
Joe Buck, you're so big you could get anything done on opening day. You are big.
Nope. Gain of 8, and they are so far picking on Will Allen and Will Peterson. Delhomme has had a very good first half.
Boy, he really has, and they've come out. It's obvious they wanted to get him going, throwing the football, and he has thrown it well.
A little flea flicker. Come on, it's preseason. There's nothing there. Delhomme drops it down. Penalty flag in the secondary. It's Steve Smith who makes the catch and will check the marker.
Joe, I think what they're going to get New York on is illegal contact. That's the rule that we've talked about that the officials are going to emphasize. The safeties got beat because of the play action in the backfield.
But what a great play by Steve Smith to take that shot.
On the play for illegal contact because the quarterback handed the ball off and then pitched it back. Illegal contact is off at that time.
Totally ad-lib play by Steve Smith and Jake Delhomme there. They really didn't fool anybody in the Giants secondary and just were able to create something out of nothing, out of a broken play.
But Chris, isn't that what you expect to see a lot of? Not necessarily a flea flicker, but a lot of double moves and trying to put the pressure on these guys that can't get their arms out.
Because the answer on double moves for the defensive backs is to always run into the receiver, and apparently they're going to call that very tightly this year.
Gain of 9 on that completion to Smith. He's been busy. Gets another nifty move. And he is forced out of bounds at the 45 of the Giants. Let's go down to Pam Oliver.
Hey, Joe, that injury bug continues to strike the Giants. Safety Omar Stottmeyer spent a good deal of time off the field. He's back now, but only after getting some x-rays on an injured hand. Meanwhile, wide receiver David Tyree just went to the x-ray room. They're checking out his shoulder. Joe, I saw him leave the field. He was in a great deal of pain.
All right, Pam, and that's something that day after day, quote after quote, been coming out of the mouth of Tom Coughlin, being very frustrated with the injuries that have hit this Giants team during camp.
Stoutmeyer in a battle with Brent Alexander for the free safety position.
And you kind of get the idea that Tim Lewis is leaning toward Alexander, who he knows from his days with the Steelers. That's Muhammad in a gain of 4.
Yeah, Jake's upset. They barely were able to get that play off. The play clock was down to 1 second, so Jake had to rush the cadence in order to get the ball snapped. And Now, who's at fault for that? You'd obviously like to get the plays in a little bit earlier from the sideline, coming down from Dan Henning, the offensive coordinator, but the communication right now, we saw him working on his helmet. You wonder if maybe he's having some problems hearing the plays in his helmet.
How about 10 for 12 this half for Delhomme? Stephen Davis. 7-yard gain and a fresh set of downs for the Panthers.
You know, it's in a strange way, one of the great things that Stephen Davis does is he takes his time running the football. So many times you see young running backs try and just run up in the hole as fast as they can, and they don't allow the play to develop. There's so many pulling guards and moving offensive linemen in this running game, and Stephen Davis does such a tremendous job of being patient, watching what's happening in front of him, and just following those blocks.
Over 1,400 yards last year. Gets it again. To the 30. The best fantasy football games are on foxsports.com on MSN. Log on to play now.
You know, you talk about Stephen Davis, and because of that running style, Chris, it allows them to be able to run the football pretty effectively against 8-man fronts. That's very difficult to do in this league, but because he's able to stretch things out, take his time with it, and then hit it north and south when he sees a crease, they're able to make that 8th guy miss if they can't get a blocker on. It's been very effective for Carolina.
Now a toss to Foster. Running left, shows that burst. He's out at the 25.
And it really is a major change-up when Deshaun Foster comes in the game. And I tell you, I was not overly impressed, as you guys know, early in the season when I saw Deshaun Foster, but what a show he put on during the playoffs. And the toughness that this guy displayed was something that I just didn't know that he had. I thought that it was always going to be Stephen Davis in that tough guy role, and they would always just sort of pitch it to him on the outside. But Deshaun Foster was remarkable in the playoffs.
Guy who missed his rookie season after undergoing knee surgery. Just under 500 yards on the ground last year, and here he is again. Out of bounds near the 12, a gain of 12.
And I think that's a good point, Joe, because a lot of people, after he had that injury in his rookie season, there were some that questioned whether or not he would ever even be able to come back and play football again. And not only has he come back, but he's been as good as he was prior to the injury. And certainly last year was more like a rookie season for him. And as the season went along, he progressively got better. And you can just tell the confidence that he has now running the football.
They're flip-flopping, Foster and Davis. Davis back in there now. And the Panthers are showing it all to the Giants. Now the big man, Stephen Davis, is out of bounds after a gain of 9, knocked out by Sean Williams.
Joe, I have to tell you, this is getting a little embarrassing for the Giants now. When their first unit's been out there, and granted, they are missing a ton of people. Keith Washington and Barrett Green and their middle linebacker, Nick Bryson, Carlos Simmons. But, okay, you say last week, yes, that's the Kansas City Chiefs, and they're a tremendous offense. But we saw the Panthers go up and down the field throwing the ball early in this game. They've come right back and really just jammed it down their throat so far during this drive.
Second down from the 4. Second down and 2. A little more of Stephen Davis, and this time from the backside, the tackle is made. A loss of 1.
And I think from a training camp standpoint, this is one of the more difficult spots for an offense. We've seen the Giants settle for 2 field goals, but you don't spend a lot of time in short yardage and goal line up to this point in training camp.
Something Delhomme likes, the shotgun. He fires, has a man. It's Davis, and what a terrific hit by Will Allen.
Yeah, it really was, because Stephen Davis got the ball in his hands and had the chance to try to get turned up the field and deliver the blow.
They did get a first down.
They did get the first down, but what a good job by Will Allen coming up, because this is a huge size advantage right here when you're talking about a big back, 245 pounds. And Will Allen coming up and giving him everything that he's got.
Yeah, the interesting question, did he have full possession of that ball? That the hit knocked the ball loose. No challenge.
Delhomme couldn't get the snap. so he will just run it in. Trying to get it to Foster. Instead, he gets the 6.
So much for the question whether or not he's used up all his magic.
The snap hit him in the chest. Then he grabs it, runs it in for a 1-yard touchdown carry. And Casey makes it 17-6. Delhomme in this first half, 11 of 13 for 144 yards, a touchdown through the air, and now 1 on the ground. Will it be Eli Manning or will it be Kurt Warner on the field when the Giants take over on offense? They're about to get it back. Trailing 17-6. And this injury depleted defense for the Giants after suffering through that bad first half against Kansas City. Having it done to him again, this time by Carolina. Ponder fumbled the last one, and he moves the pile out to the 32. We'll take a break, come back. Who is it? Who is it? Who is it? It's Eli, back for more action with his Giants trailing by 11. It appears Jake Delhomme has finished for the night, and what a night it was, including a little 1-yard touchdown scramble.
Well, he's trying to get the ball here from the center, Jeff Mitchell, and you know, they always want to know whose fault it is when something like that happens. You can't tell, it happens so fast, but Jake Delhomme does a great job of getting it into the end zone. As you can see, him and Jeff Mitchell here talking about it, trying to figure out exactly what happened. But it's a hot, humid night here in Carolina. I'm sure that had something to do with it. But boy, what a great first half for Jake Delhomme. And that's exactly what he wanted to do when we visited with him, is he wanted to come out, score some touchdowns, move the football, and come out with some confidence, and they did that.
But when you get back to the sideline, you're saying the center just didn't get it there, right?
That's what you tell the coaches. On first down, Manning hands to Dane, a slimmed down version of Ron Dane. Out to the 36.
And Ron Dane, as the tailback, has done a nice job so far during this exhibition season. They said that when Tom Coughlin got finished with his press conference, the first guy that he met was that guy right there. Ron Dane came to Tom Coughlin and said, I want to be your guy. I want to be the guy. And he said, you need to lose some weight. And he did. He lost about 30 pounds. Looked fantastic last week, breaking off 2 long touchdown runs. Trying to work back into that thunder and lightning equation with Tiki Barber.
But don't you think Coughlin would trade at least one of those long runs for a conversion on 3rd and 1?
I just think they need to go get a guy that can do that. That might start a little action right there.
Yeah. Buckner comes in and knocks the rookie Manning on his backside.
Yeah, that's you have
encroachment, 99, defense, 5-yard penalty, first down.
You can't let people take shot at your $50 million guy like that, just coming through, and clearly he gave it a little extra at the end of that one. Welcome to the league, huh?
Yeah, I was a little surprised that the Giants offensive line didn't react.
Maybe they didn't see it
a little bit more intensely. Boy, as a quarterback, especially a young quarterback, you rely on those offensive linemen up front to protect you. They certainly weren't happy about it.
There would have been a few Giants offensive linemen in the past that might have had something to say about it. I think Jumbo may have reacted a little differently to that one.
I don't think Larry Allen would have liked it if that happened to you. Kind of a surprising non-reaction by the Giants offensive line, and the pass is complete to Hilliard. And Ike is out to midfield.
You have to think this is probably the last series for Eli Manning, and I know he'd like to put together a drive, but it is so different, isn't it, Troy? The difference between moving the ball in the NFL between the 20s and that final 20 yards, getting it in, how much faster paced everything is down there, how much smaller the holes are. And this guy right here, Kurt Warner, was one of the best ever. You look at his numbers in the red zone, right at the very top of the league.
Giants have been last in red zone touchdown percentage in the league the last 2 years. Second down and 1. A quick out, and the pass is caught. for a first down by Toomer.
It was a really nice catch by Amani Toomer, one of the few poor throws that Eli Manning has had. We saw at the line of scrimmage, Eli Manning, as all these quarterbacks will do for the Giants, they're asked to go up there and make protection calls at the line of scrimmage. They have to identify who the middle linebacker is. There's a lot that this young man has to do. And so not only does he have to worry about his own playing responsibilities, he's also got to get the offensive lineman going in the right direction.
Barber met in the backfield and thrown down by Rucker. A breakdown on the left side of the offensive line for the Giants.
Well, you could hear the audible, white 39, and almost all running plays that are going to the left, especially to the outside like that, end in a 9 number. I can remember Howie Long telling me on several occasions that every audible that was ever called that he thought he knew where that play was going. Those guys are a little smarter than you think.
Are you saying you didn't think Howie was very smart?
No, I think he's plenty smart.
I heard that. Incomplete, as Manning had to step up. He had pressure and ended up on his back from Julius Peppers.
You know, quarterbacks all have that in them, you know, like Bradshaw, that stirring it up a little bit, a very innocent comment, and he just wanted to stir that pot a little bit. I saw that one.
Only because I know that Howie Long will have a chance for rebuttal at halftime.
I mean, Chris, just go ahead and say it. You say it to us all the time privately.
Oh, you guys are the worst. You're the worst.
3rd down and long for the Giants. 13 yards for Eli Manning. Fields with pressure and a sack.
One of the things that Mark Fields is going to add to this football team that they did not have a season ago with Greg Favors is the ability to rush the passer. 7.5 sacks he had a year ago, and here he is, essentially the 4th guy in a 4-man pass rush coming around the end. The ability to do some change-ups with that defensive line now and getting pressure is going to be a tremendous asset this year for the Panthers.
Eagles with a beautiful high-hanging punt that was nearly downed inside the 5. Jack Brewer came close. Old faces in new places around the NFC. Philadelphia, Javon Curse and Terrell Owens. In Seattle, Bobby Taylor and Grant Wistrom joins the Seahawks from the Rams. Tampa Bay, Tim Brown, Joey Galloway, Charlie Garner. Washington, Clinton Portis, Mark Brunell. He used to play quarterback for Tom Coughlin. And in Dallas, Keyshawn Johnson, Eddie George, and Vinny Testaverde. How about that quarterback situation in Dallas?
Well, right now it's a little bit in disarray. I mean, they certainly didn't anticipate Quincy Carter not being with the football team. Of course, it was their decision, but yet there were circumstances that warranted that. So now they're hanging their hopes on a 40-year-old quarterback with 2 backups with no NFL experience.
A chance to run the 2-minute offense for Chris Winkie. And a good play by O.C. Manura. No gain.
You know, I really think right now when you talk about the Cowboys quarterback situation, I'd say Bill Parcells has really got the pressure on him a little bit. They had an opportunity to pick up a guy like Kerry Collins this offseason. Jeff Garcia, he didn't do that. Now you've got to wonder who he's going to have as his backup. You certainly would hate to lose Vinny and risk a playoff season because of the inexperience of a young quarterback.
2 minutes left in Carolina. Tiki Barber talking to Jeremy Shockey. 2 minutes left. Panthers have the football. Coming up on the Visa halftime report, JB, Terry, Howie, and Jimmy will break down the first half and introduce you to a new segment. 10 yards with TB.
Yes, sir.
2nd down and 10 for Chris Winkie. Trying to drop it off, and what a catch by Foster. Had to reach high to grab it, a gain of only 3.
Chris Winkie came in last week and just played a tremendous football game. Of course, he was the quarterback at the helm when this team went 1-15, and changes were made everywhere with the coaching staff, the quarterback, everywhere you can imagine. And Winkie probably took a little bit more of the blame than was deserved, but he has slowly worked his way back into a position to be the backup quarterback. It's clearly an open competition right now with he and Rodney Peete.
Well, it is an interesting situation for him. Of course, he was 28 years old when he came into the league. He's 32 now, so he's not a young guy. And, you know, last year at the end of preseason, he actually thought, Chris, that then he was the backup quarterback by the way that he had played. So obviously he was disappointed when in that first game they benched Rodney Peete, and it's Jake Delhomme that goes in and then obviously has the year that he has. But right now he's trying to use this preseason as an auditioning period for him, hoping that maybe he'll attract the attention of some club. Maybe a team will want to make a trade for him. Unfortunately for him, he's got another year after this one on his contract. So right now his career is a little bit stalled.
3rd down and 7. Wenke fires, and it's out of the reach of Colbert. Their 2nd-round pick out of USC, and a guy who they are falling in love with quickly.
Pretty nice coverage out there by Terry Cousin. Covering on the play, of course, the former Carolina Panther, who really could make a difference for this football team as a nickelback. They really need to find somebody for that position, and Cousin appears to be the guy. They get more playing time than that if some of these injuries start popping up again on their 2 corners.
Sauerbrunn with a punt. He is the best. Black is waiting from inside the 25, and he is thrown down by Cooper. 5-3 on the hang time, 55-yard punt.
Boy, as impressive as the Panthers have been on offense and defense, maybe the place they've been the most impressive tonight has been on special teams. They have guys that play significant roles on the offense and defense on these coverage teams, and they're getting after them.
Coughlin's getting after his players. And now with 1:38 remaining, 2 timeouts left, here is 2-time MVP Kurt Warner taking over. Fields with pressure and another sack. All the way back to the 13-yard line, a loss of 8. You know, it's a little surprising to me, Joe, that they put Kurt Warner in his first time in this ball game's in a 2-minute situation. You would think that this would be a great opportunity for Eli Manning.
And terrible by Ron Dane that time.
A low snap. Warner out of the shotgun, goes down again. Rucker.
This offensive line is simply no match. They're only bringing 4 people on the pressure for the most part, and they're just getting overwhelmed.
And that probably explains why Kurt Warner's in and not Eli Manning.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then you do think about the opening weekend with a game at Philadelphia, and you are reminded the investment that the Giants have in Eli Manning, and no matter how well he plays in the preseason, why would they subject him to Jimmy Johnson's defense?
So Kurt's the stunt man, huh?
Well, I mean, Joe, that's exactly right. I mean, Kurt's not living in reality if he doesn't understand that, 1, eventually Eli Manning's going to be the quarterback, and then 2, they're not going to throw him to the wolves. I mean, they're going to bring him along as slowly as they can and protect him and protect their investment. So, yeah, I mean, in essence, you could say that if he does, in fact, start the opener, some of that has to do with the fact that they don't want Eli Manning taking the beating by a Philadelphia Eagle defense.
But we're missing something pretty significant here with what we're seeing from Mark Fields and the added pressure that this team is now going to be able to get in blitz situations and 3-man fronts, bringing him off the corner, a tremendous pass rusher.
Just raw speed. 3rd down and 19. Only a 3-man rush, and they take the pressure off Warner, hand it to Dane. He just gives the Giants a little breathing room. I mean, if you talk about putting a guy in a situation to succeed, that did not happen with Kurt Warner right there. He had no chance.
No, he was probably walking off the sidelines right now and say, hey, thanks, coach, appreciate that one. You know, you really gave me a chance. But
I mean, you can see the frustration on his face, and who can blame him? We talked to him last night about his future with New York.
I know that I'm not the long-term answer for the New York Giants. I know I'm not going to be here for 5-6 years. I think it's a fair opportunity for me to start at this point in time. I think there will come a point, depending on how long I am with the New York Giants, where it probably becomes a little more unfair because you know what's invested in this kid. You know how talented he is. You know he's going to be the quarterback of the future.
So I'd say he's living in reality for the most part there.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he clearly understands what's the case here.
Fiegels gets off a good one. Hank Poteet, former Steeler, is tripped up. And he goes down at the 32.
You know, it's interesting, though, that there wasn't more interest in a two-time MVP than what there was. And talking with Kurt last night, he basically said this was one of the few places where they told me I had a legitimate shot to be the starter. And you would think with the career and the numbers that he has had, there would be more interest, but there really hasn't been.
No, and it's a hard thing for a older quarterback when they're no longer with the team that they had their success, because teams want to develop their young quarterbacks and have guys that they know they can have on their team for 10 years, and they don't want some guy, regardless of how good he potentially could be, to be the guy for 1 or 2 years and then be back in the same boat trying to find a young guy to be their quarterback. It's very hard.
Wenke rolls out, and now we'll go down. Had all day to get rid of the ball, and Raydell Lockhart brings down Chris Wenke.
Now, just to conclude my thoughts on Kurt Warner as far as, you know, his situation here with New York, if you look at the teams that he could potentially play for and be the starter, if it was purely based on talent, there's a lot of teams out there that he could be the starter for. Unfortunately, those aren't the things that go into making some of those decisions. It's about salary cap and youth and all those other things.
And injury. I mean, come on. He fumbled the ball 6 times in the opener last year at the Meadowlands. He was sacked 6 times. He had another concussion. There are still some practical questions about the abilities of Kurt Warner that he's trying to answer this preseason.
But you do have to be worried if you're Kurt Warner that with this offensive line, you don't make this year a career-ending year.
That's the end of the first half. With the score, 17-6 Carolina. Great first half for the Panthers, the NFC champions. Visa halftime show coming up. JB, Terry, Howie, and Jimmy right after these messages and a word from your local Fox station.
It's an NFL on Fox preseason special. 2 marquee franchises meet in prime time. Clinton Portis leads the Redskins' quest to return the team to its glory days. But Mark Bulger and the Rams are out to prove the greatest show on turf is far from finished. Redskins, Rams, next Friday on Fox. The Visa Halftime Report is brought to you by Visa, proud sponsor of the NFL.
A sharp-looking first half from Eli Manning, but Carolina says, hey, we are a team to be reckoned with. Jake Delhomme hooking up with Mushin Muhammad. It is Carolina. It's on top at the half by the score of 17-6 as we welcome you back to Los Angeles. Full house here indeed. Jimmy, first half.
JB, looking at the first half, a couple of things. Number one, Carolina still very, very good. The other thing is Eli Manning, with the poise that he has, the command of the offense, looking at it from what I have seen and what we know about Eli Manning, Tom Coughlin should go after this ball game, after Warner gets his little play in the second half, and say, Eli Manning is my guy. I'm going to get him ready for Philadelphia, the first game of the season. Use these next 2 preseason games to get it going. The poise on the screen pass, the zip that he's able to throw the ball on this post route. Eli Manning is able to handle the audibles. He shows the poise. I think this guy's going to be a big-time quarterback, and the way to get him big time is to give him the experience on the field.
Well, one of the problems the Giants has is in protection, and one of the guys that's given them problems tonight, Mark Fields. It's a remarkable story. Just a year ago, was diagnosed with Hodgkin's disease. We go up to Philadelphia last year in the NFC Championship game. You're not sure if this guy's ever going to make it back to the field. Here we show him coming from the outside on a blitz. Tight end tries to jam him. He shows great speed. And here, great pass rush move with a rip outside, sacking Eli Manning. It's a guy that adds such a dimension to this football team, particularly up front. This team relied so much on their 4-man front. Now they have Mark Fields to come as an additional pass rusher.
Chris Collinsworth underscored that dimension that he brings indeed in the first half. Hey, folks, apparently Terry Bradshaw grew just a little tired of players not saying anything worthwhile doing his many interviews. So, TB and producer Scott Ackerson came up with something called 10 yards. What is it, TB?
Well, it's just, it's just simply going and interviewing star athletes and ask them questions that are non-football related so you'll have an understanding of really who they are. They cannot dodge these questions. So 10 Yards with Terry is something you're going to want to stick around and watch and enjoy. I'm telling you, all the stars lined up for this thing. Even President Bush's people have called. They want to be on it.
Get to it.
Good. Here, we'll give you an idea. Here's a sample. Is it Coughlin or Fossil?
Come on, man. You can't do that.
Yes, I can. Not only can I do it, I'm in television and I can do it. Cops make me nervous. Cops make me feel safe.
Nope. It all depends. What situation you in? You didn't think I'd add that, did you?
Hunting or fishing?
Going to the camp. You know? Yeah, just go to the camp. I don't need a hunt or fish. Just go to the camp.
If someone today said to you...
Hunting.
Okay, that's what I'm getting at. Gee. Texas Star or Sharpie?
You know what?
I guess they both so good.
You know what? I would definitely have to say Sharpie because you know, that was a signature performance. You know, I autographed my performance.
Great movie or a great kiss?
Great kiss.
You ever had a kiss that was so good you've never forgotten about it?
Probably my first one with my wife.
Did you French kiss her?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Boxers or briefs?
Boxers or briefs? Boxers.
You say that with reservation.
Yeah.
You switch?
Nah, I don't really do them at all, Terry.
I tell you, that's some good stuff, and you don't want to miss that, folks, because I'm telling you, people will be tuned in to watch that.
Are these questions generated from personal experience?
Hey, that's a personal question.
French kiss. French kiss. All right, folks, moving to a serious matter
That's
here.
good stuff.
The Minnesota Vikings offense was dealt a serious blow today. Our NFL insider Jay Glazer reports that running back Ontario Smith, who plays a large part in Minnesota's running back rotation, is facing a 4-game suspension for violating the NFL's substance abuse policy. Smith's suspension will not kick in until after a possible appeal. All right, folks, some of you will be going to local news. Others will be coming back here to listen to what these guys talk about as far as the NFC is concerned. All right, as we welcome you back to Los Angeles with the Fox NFL Sunday crew, obviously an exciting season coming up. I know you guys are boned up as we take a look at the NFC. NFC East is certainly going to look awfully good, but let's talk about your favorite one team in the NFC if you were hazarded to say one team.
Well, JB, a lot of people's talking Philadelphia, and I think Philadelphia is going to be very good because of picking up Kurtz and Owens. But I think their injuries, and then on top of that, I think everybody's going to beat up each other in that NFC East, and the record's not going to be quite as good. I think Philadelphia will still win it. The team that's going to have the good record and going to get home field advantage, the Seattle Seahawks.
Oh, Jimmy.
Hey. They're
quit that
offensively, I think they're strong, and I think because of the division they're in, they will build up the record to get home field advantage. I see Seattle playing against Carolina for the NFC Championship.
Well, you know, I can see Seattle maybe versus Carolina, but I like Philadelphia, and it could be the pickup of the year with Terrell Owens and Javon Curse. If Javon Curse is healthy, it changes the complexion of that entire defense. Those young corners aren't put on an island as much in that Jim Johnson scheme, and if Terrell Owens can adapt and assimilate into that football team, then they're not going to have problems. I like the Carolina Panthers. Marty Herney and John Fox made a decision after going to the Super Bowl, are we going to sit pat? No. We're going to take our stud duck right tackle, Jordan Gross, move him to left tackle, which is more of a natural position. We're going to leave him on an island for 12 years. We're going to revamp the rest of the offensive line. Delhomme has another year under his belt in that offense. Musa Muhammad is healthy. He's not only a big possession receiver, an impact player in terms of his blocking, but I think that team is going to be better than they were last year.
I agree. I definitely would go with Carolina. I just believe with Philadelphia, you get 3 chances, man, and 3 times, you know what, I'm sorry, after that, good football team, but I don't think they'll make it back.
Too many players for Joe Gibbs to mesh there in Washington to make an impact this year.
Just too tough a division.
All right.
They'll be
17-6, Carolina on top. Second half coming your way.
There is no better sight for the Giants offensive line and Kurt Warner than seeing Rucker and Peppers and Fields and Morgan without shoulder pads over on that sideline. And Warner's thinking, what's in store for me in this second half? Franz kicks it away, this time better, end over end, and taken in by Smart. And tripped up across the 20. Let's go down to Pam Oliver.
Hey, Joe, a lot of praise being heaped on Eli Manning after a solid first half performance where he goes 9 for 15, 117 yards in that first half. You heard Jimmy Johnson at halftime talking about his poise and how Tom Coughlin should declare him the starter. Well, I talked to Tom Coughlin at halftime. He was too busy expressing his disappointments, primarily the defense's inability to make tackles as well as the offensive line breakdowns. I asked him, what about Eli's performance? He literally shrugged his shoulders, Joe, and said, Eli, he did okay.
That's in fact the exact response that Eli gave Tom Coughlin when Coughlin told him he was going to start tonight. Shrugged his shoulders and said, okay.
Well, and Eli better get used to that, because I think that's about as big a compliment as anybody's going to get out of Tom Coughlin.
Yeah, it's not going to be glowing at this point, and I think, and you guys talk to the important people within the Giants organization, they are very excited about what they see with Eli Manning, and it may go without saying because of the money, because of the trade they made to get him, but they're even more impressed with what they're seeing out of Eli Manning. I think they're a little shocked, really.
And I think they're trying to intentionally temper their enthusiasm. They don't want to get overly excited about what he's done thus far, but I think maybe there's got a fumble here on the play, but
Well,
I think
saying third down, so
I think the big question right now is when does Tom Coughlin have to make this decision? Because we talked about it with Kurt Warner a little bit last night. Someone has to be able to establish themselves as the leader of this football team, have a couple of weeks to work with the starters primarily, and just have that time to take over this offense.
It certainly looked like Lockhart knocked the ball out of the arms of Deshaun Foster, but no challenge. Wanky fires, and that ball is caught by Scott McCready, and now they're saying incomplete. Back judge came up and said that ball hit the turf before McCready secured it, so it's fourth down for Carolina.
And McCready actually runs a good route. The ball takes him back outside. McCready was expecting to get it back down the stem right around the numbers, but should have been an easy completion for a first down.
Did look like it slid between his arms and made contact with the ground. I think that was a good call.
McCready's a young man from London who dropped a potential game-winning touchdown pass last week. Another good punt from Sauerbrunn, and Avion Black takes it from just outside the 20. He gets it to the 35, maybe a foot beyond. That's where the Giants and Kurt Warner will take over. So here we go, a more in-depth look at Warner when we come back. Pressure the entire first half from this very good Carolina defense. And it came from everywhere. A very good front four. And we talked about Fields coming on blitzes. First it was Manning, then Kurt Warner dropped back twice and was sacked twice. And now he is back for more of a look.
And right now, Joe, we're seeing the first string offensive line still in there with Kurt Warner, so they do want to give him a fair opportunity, and a lot of reserves in for the Carolina Panthers, so you would expect the Giants to be able to do a little something here.
That's Ron Dane. Kurt Warner, who actually got a later start learning this new system than even Eli Manning, so he's had to go right back to school and learn so much new coming from St. Louis.
Not only is it new terminology, Joe, but it's also a different style of offense. Everything that they did in St. Louis was really based off of 7-step drops, hold the ball a little bit. Now in this offense in New York, it's more based on 5 steps, so the timing of the throws is very different for him.
His first throw, beautiful pass, and it is completed to Rivers. And Marcellus Rivers is knocked down inside Carolina territory for a first down.
And that's the sort of throw we're used to seeing Kurt Warner make. Hit the back foot, get the ball out quickly. It just drove defenses crazy in St. Louis because you literally couldn't blitz the guy. He got the ball out so quickly and had so many weapons, Marshall Faulk and company, coming out for those quick throws that really forced defenses to back off.
Tom Coughlin will tell you if Warner has any fault when he drops back, it's that he holds on to the ball too long. He's willing to take a hit in the mouth, trying to wait as long as he can to complete a pass downfield as Dane gets 11.
Well, and he kind of got used to that as well in St. Louis. I mean, you think back to some of those years when he was there, he was getting hit an awful lot, even when their production offensively was very high. A lot of times the Rams were sending out 5 and 6 guys and leaving the line a little bit thin, and Kurt took a lot of hits, and so it's something that he's used to. Not that that's a good thing. You wonder if he does go on to play, how long he can remain healthy. Boy, when Carolina comes across, they make it count. Yeah, they punish them, don't they?
Let's see if Demaine Duckett was drawn off.
Encroachment, 63, defense, 5-yard penalty, still first down.
Give it a shot anyway, you know, point, knock him down. That's kind of fun.
That's Wayne Lucier.
You know, I didn't want to go back for 1 second to the run by Ron Dane on that last play. That dropping of 30 pounds for Ron Dane. He made more moves on that one run than I saw on any run that he made in the past couple of years. Of course, he didn't have any runs last year.
Did not play last year. Warner has it knocked down. Looked like Rasmussen got his hand up and knocked it down. For special offers for fantasy football, go to NFL.com. 2nd down and 5 for the Giants.
That's it?
That's it. That's all I got.
Okay.
I think it's important, Troy, to go back to what you talked about, you and Chris, about establishing the starter and giving that person, whether it's Warner or Manning, a chance to settle in and establish himself as the leader. First to 2nd down and 5 play. And a handoff is to Dane. His new biggest fan, Chris, watches him come up a yard shy of a first down.
No, I just think that, you know, he's not a good short yardage back, but so far what we've seen, 30 pounds lighter, he's made some plays from the tailback position.
You know, I think Tom Coughlin on the quarterback situation, and I really think that Tom Coughlin knows who he's going to put in the game in the opener against Philadelphia. I think he's made that decision. He's just keeping it close to his vest. He's not going to let it out. Now, when he lets these guys know, that's going to be the real key, because as you mentioned, they've got to start taking control of this team as the leader.
Another chance for Dane on 3rd and 1. They toss it to him. And Ron Dane, with that burst, gets inside the 15-yard line. So instead of going up the gut and trying to push a pile, they get him outside.
Well, and that's where he's been best, really. I mean, when he's run inside the tackles, as long as he's not having to have contact within the hole, that's when he runs well. There he's able to get outside in space. He's not the power runner that a lot of people perceive him to be, as Chris talked about a little bit earlier. You've got to give him some room to run, and when he has contact and has to deal with that, that's when he bogs down.
Dane again. Couple yards, and Pam Oliver has a special guest.
I'm here with Jake Delhomme. Pretty good night for you, Jake. You satisfied with that performance?
We did some good things offensively. Kind of disappointed. We had things going early on in the first drive. We got 3 points on a great kick by John, but we're very excited we were able to get 2 touchdowns tonight, especially that last drive we had was 12 plays, and that was the big thing, finishing drives. Not, you know, we love John Casey, but we like when he kicks extra points and not field goals.
I think part of what makes you so special is how you stayed down to earth throughout all this process. Tell me about, though, how life has changed a little bit for you.
You know, life has changed somewhat, a little bit more outside the home, but not inside the home. You know, people maybe recognize you a little bit more, but that's a good thing. You know, it's been great this offseason in Charlotte. We have so many well-wishers, and hopefully we have many off-seasons like that. That means we're winning football games, but things haven't changed that much. I have too many people around me that kind of keep me grounded, and I know I kind of enjoy my life the way it is, and I'm not going to change that much.
Great. Thanks, Jake. Appreciate your time. Let's go back up to Joe.
You know, Joe, you'd think that his offseason would have changed dramatically when a young guy like him takes his team to the Super Bowl, yet it was very predictable, wasn't it?
It doesn't surprise me at all. He's the same guy.
Yeah.
3rd down and 4 for the Giants. Warner has time, just nowhere to throw it. Trying to run for the 1st down, and he dives forward and picks it up for the Giants.
How many of those do you think he has in his career? Not too many, but Kurt Warner knows how important this is, scrambling out and apparently picking up that 1st down. Really nobody open to speak of. The offensive line doing a nice job on this one, but there just was nowhere to go with the football.
Gets it to the 3. 1st and goal for the Giants from there. Dane. Ron Dane is in for the touchdown.
I'm not so sure. Wow, that ball looked like it may have been coming out.
The headline's been immediately signaled touchdown as one of the Panthers, Demaine Duckett, ends up with a football.
Well, this is a good look at it right here. The ball was out, Chris. The ball was out before his knee hit the ground. Now it's just a matter of whether or not the ball crossed the goal line.
Well, the problem is, even if you challenge it, all they can do, and clearly it was out before he crossed the goal line,
and it wasn't a touchdown either.
You just put it back to the 1-inch line or whatever, because the whistle blew and the play would be called dead, even if they are successful on the challenge.
That's Brandon Short, the former Giant, forcing his 2nd fumble of the evening.
Carolina is challenging the ruling on the field of a touchdown.
That ball is clearly out before Dane got it to the plane of the goal line. So we'll take a break while they take a look at it. Well, we wait for the call from Walt Coleman. It is clear that the ball came out before it broke the plane.
After reviewing the play, the runner's elbow hit at the half-a-yard line. We will place the ball at the half-a-yard line. 2nd down and goal from the half-yard line. Carolina is not charged a timeout.
They don't even want to talk about the fumble because Carolina can't get the ball.
Well, and his elbow wasn't even on the ground when the ball came out either. I don't know what they're talking about down by contact with the elbow. It didn't matter with the outcome of the play, but the ball clearly was a fumble.
It's an easier explanation. You know, that other one would have taken like 10 minutes to
keep it easy for
explain.
Walt.
Yeah, it's preseason, you know, warming up too.
2nd down and goal. Dane's back there again as the tailback. Gets another try. Lowers his head, and the ball comes out again. Penalty flag is down on the play. They're ruling touchback, but there is a flag down.
Wow.
I'll tell you what, Joe, after what's happened last week, not picking up the 1st downs on short yardage situations, down here laying the ball down on the ground 2 consecutive plays. Tom Coughlin, he is not going to tolerate this. Ron Dane, I would not be surprised if something happens to him when he gets into the locker room.
It looks like Troy, the Giants may get the ball back.
Offsides. Defense lined up in the neutral zone. Half the distance to the goal. 2nd down.
Wow.
So because one of the Panthers' defensive linemen was lined up in the neutral zone, Dane gets a reprieve. That's Duckett again.
Pretty easy call.
Well, and I can assure you right here that Tom Coughlin is going to give the ball back to Ron Dane one more time and see if he can't get this thing in the end zone.
I can barely watch.
Surely he can't fumble 3 times in a row. Touchdown. But I'm sure that Dane will have his head hanging when he comes back to look Tom Coughlin in the eyes. And Coughlin, who was upset about a muffed punt last week, even though the Giants got another chance at it, even though the Giants get another chance here, back-to-back fumbles by Dane, that will be noted.
Well, yeah, Joe, I can tell you, players lose jobs over things like that. I mean, with this guy's going to be the backup running back or not, players lose jobs that can't hang on to it and can't pick up 3rd and 1.
So the former Heisman Trophy winner out of Wisconsin and a first-round pick in the year 2000 gets it in, and it's a 4-point game. Tiki Barber waiting for Ron Dane to get to the sideline, saying, "I feel your pain."
Yeah, hey, I do it all the time.
And he also ran interference in front of Tom Coughlin. That's a good teammate right there. Tom only got a parting shot as Dane went by.
One of the better blocks that Barber threw all night. Now it's Smart from about the 8. Gets it across the 20, and that's where the Panthers will line it up. 16-yard return. There's the scoring drive. It's a 4-point game. Wenke back to work.
Chiseled, muscular, powerful. Of all the thrilling lines that Nissan brings you, this may be the most interesting. The bottom line at the Nissan National Sales Event. It's an extraordinary time to get the all-new full-size Nissan Titan with 2% financing or $1,000 cash back. But hurry, September 7th is the end of the line. See your Nissan dealer now.
You never seem to win my romancing. The only time you hold me is when we're dancing. I don't know why I love you like I do. I don't know why, but I do.
This Fox NFL special is brought to you by Nissan and your Nissan dealer, and by Thank You from Citi, a new kind of rewards program from a card you can count on.
Welcome back to Charlotte. It's what you've been waiting for all summer, but why spend hours researching depth charts and stat sheets preparing you for your fantasy football draft? Let our experts do the work for you. The Ultimate Fantasy Football Show is back with a 2004 preview special this weekend, only on FSN.
I'm watching that. I always get crushed in our fantasy football league.
I am horrible at that.
I am too. Absolutely terrible. Too much information.
Stephen Davis and the entire Carolina offense, they have to be thrilled with what they did against, I will say, part of the Giants starting defense because of injury. Their entire linebacking crew out. So they should figure to be better once they get Barrett Green, Nick Bryson, and Carlos Emmons back. Wenke gets another shot. Trying to avoid a shot. Buys some time, fires back across the field, and has a first down. As that pass is complete to Scott McCready.
Good job by Chris Wenke. This is a big guy. I mean, you go up and you see him and you meet him and you don't realize just watching him from the field how big he is, but he also moves very well. And as he's moving along, he's keeping his eyes down the field and does a nice job of finding the open receiver. And Chris Wenke not getting any playing time last year, and it's been a long time other than last week when he'd gotten on the field then.
On first down, they hand off. That's Foster. And Deshaun is across the 45. All right, so what's the deal? The former teammate, basically your neighbor down in Dallas, Deion Sanders. He's taken batting practice with the Rangers 2 nights ago. Is he coming back? Is he going to play cornerback for the Ravens or what?
Well, you know, I think he's serious about it. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I talked to him today about that very thing, and you know, there's no question that when he got out of football, it was a little bit more premature than when he wanted to come out. You know, the circumstances there in Washington, Marty Schottenheimer coming in as a coach, and you know, there was talk last year about him potentially going to the Oakland Raiders, and you know, I think that he's still got something left, and I do believe that he could do the job that they want from him. I mean, they're looking at him as a nickel back. he wants to take some time and see if he can get himself in condition. He has worked out. He's in good shape, but then he wants to get out and run some sprints and, you know, get his hamstrings going and all that goes with that. But, you know, Ray Lewis on that defense has called him. He desperately wants Dion to be a part of that club. And, you know, whether or not he's going to be as dominant as he was, that's doubtful. But there's no question in my mind that he's still better than a lot of defensive backs that are currently playing.
Chris, if Troy promised to throw to you, would you run patterns on Dion to see if you could get him ready?
That would be a standard for him right there. I'm not sure I could make it 15 yards and turn around anymore.
You know, the one thing, though, I got to tell you is that if he does come back with the new, you know, emphasis on illegal contact, that was a part of Dion's game, was getting physical at the line. And, you know, certainly he always had the speed in order to run with guys. Now, does he still have that kind of speed to do it? It would be different for him playing under the new emphasis on the rules.
There was a flag on that completion, and it was offensive pass interference. Brad Hoover is the one who came down with it and made the run, but the penalty marches the ball all the way back to the 46. Just over 5 to play in a speedy third quarter. Look into the eyes of Kevin Lewis, who's getting time at middle linebacker. Winky's going backward, and he and Foster ought to be happy that Foster could not make the catch, and another penalty flag is down. How about the stadium situation in Arlington for the Cowboys? Is that going to happen?
I'd rather not get into all that. I'm a little disappointed that it's not in Dallas. I think it should have gone to a vote for those people. Obviously, everybody's got an opinion on a publicly funded stadium or an arena, but I just think it should have gone to a vote for the people in Dallas and let them decide. I don't think it's up for some city councilmen. And
an eligible receiver downfield prior to the pass, 65 on the offense. That penalty's declined. Second down.
Finish your thought as we look at those two guys.
So you want guys like this to decide?
I want guys like that to decide.
What's going to happen with the stadium issue?
How do you think they would vote? What do you think?
Yay. Bobble, bobble, bobble.
Second down at 20. Looks like somebody's in the neutral zone, doesn't it? No flag. Screen pass to Foster. A missed tackle, and Foster is down just shy of the 42-yard line.
You know, I know this has to be a little frustrating for Tim Lewis coming in as the new defensive coordinator. Just so many guys injured on this team, and a guy like Carlos Emmons, who is in this system and understands it, what a difference he would make, and Nick Bryson being out, and Barrett Green, now Keith Washington with kind of a fluke injury that he ends up having. And they're installing, they're trying to create a new defense. He doesn't have his star players out there, but it just hasn't happened yet for this team defensively.
Wenke is hit from behind and dropped. That's Mario Mons, who comes up with a 6-yard loss as he brings Chris Wenke down, and a punt from Sauerbrunn is coming up.
Yeah, and Mario Mons is one of those guys who's been impressive in training camp, and guys say he continually gets better, is starting to make an impact. Of course, Chris Wenke standing back there, you don't have that kind of time to throw the ball, but that is something that Tim Lewis can get excited about. They need to be able to create more pressure up front and not have to rely on linebackers and secondary players.
How can somebody 6'3", 325 duck down and hide before he makes his move to the quarterback? That's what Mario did.
The guy who's hiding behind was about 370.
Well, that's how you do it, clearly. 3.5 to go in the third quarter. Back to work in Carolina. Miami Dolphins and their running back situation. In their careers, the current Dolphins, 173 games for 1,238 rushing yards. Last year, Ricky Williams in 16 games, 1,372 yards. How do you begin to replace that?
I don't know. It just goes to show you everything your mama ever told you about smoking dope is true.
Warner steps up, shows mobility, gets it off, and finds Willie Ponder for a first down. We'll let the Miami situation stand on its own, and we'll look at the Detroit Lions. And Joey Harrington has some weapons with which to work. Charles Rogers and Roy Williams. And that 24-game road losing streak that Matt Millen is tired of hearing about.
Yeah, him and a lot of other people. And, you know, early on you could say, well, they certainly didn't have a lot of really good players. They brought in some older guys trying to get some wins a few seasons ago, but now they've got some skilled players, and obviously with Joey Harrington with yet another year under his belt. And yeah, I really believe that this is the year that Joey Harrington's got to be able to step up and really take this team and put it on his shoulders, because he does now have the players that can allow him to do the things that they brought him in to do.
Who else has a player? Donovan McNabb has Terrell Owens at wide receiver in Philadelphia. Forget Curse for a minute. How do you think that marriage is going to go with Andy Reid?
Andy Reid's a patient man. We'll find out. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be completely foreign to that franchise, because you have a guy that is used to demanding the football, getting the football when he demands it, and was a very strong presence in the San Francisco organization. But you know, I tend to think that Donovan McNabb will be the buffer there. I don't think Terrell Owens will want to embarrass Donovan McNabb the way that he did Jeff Garcia on occasion.
On first down, a throw out to Jawan Dawson, who's really filled a role for the Giants during camp while they wait for guys like Tim Carter and James McKnight to get healthy. All of a sudden, Dawson may have moved in front of those guys.
Well, yeah, he really has. He's been very consistent. And what's interesting with Jawan Dawson is here's a guy who worked as a counselor at the Manning Passing Academy, and so he's actually known Eli Manning since Eli was a senior in high school, and so they had this prior relationship. And Eli Manning won't be throwing a lot of balls to him because of Monty Toomer and Ike Hilliard, but yet he feels very comfortable with him.
Second down and 3. Warner throws, penalty flag is down, the pass is complete to Rivers, and Warner took a shot to the face.
I don't know how Kurt Warner ever found Rivers on that play. He started scrambling to the right, and all the way back across the field was Rivers.
I've been impressed with Kurt Warner. I mean, that first time he had a shot.
You know, the real key has been when they've been able to establish a little bit of a running game. They came out in that 2-minute offense and tried to just drop back and throw it, and I just don't think they have that capability right now with the protection issues that they have.
Stroney is guilty of a hold, even though you saw Al Wallace give a shot to the face of Warner after he let that pass go. We've seen mobility from Warner. We've seen him really wait and find the open receiver. He's made good, solid, crisp throws. Having to wait again. Buying time and in trouble. Brought down at the 24. And that's Rasmussen there to bring him down for Carolina, a loss of 1.
And Joe, there's just absolutely nowhere to throw the football all across the board. Kurt Warner does actually a good job of moving around and trying to buy some time, but nobody's moving back towards him to give him a place to throw the football. And as you can see, you're standing back there as a quarterback. Hopefully somebody will move and create a lane for you. Now, the one thing Kurt has to do here, he's outside the pocket, just throw it away. I mean, there's no point in taking the sack at that point.
Third down and 12. Out of the shotgun, a blitz. They set up a screen for Dane. And Ron Dane is brought down well shy of first down yardage.
Well, really about as good as you could hope for from the New York Giants. They blitz to that side. You've got the screen right behind it, just absolutely perfectly set up. Unfortunately, they had about 14 yards to make up with that situation.
So it is time for a Giants punt, and that means Jeff Feagles, who has no competition in Giants camp. Good punt. Poteet will take it from the 24. And he is brought down from behind. We look at the AFC storylines after Torborg made the tackle. The Dolphins, they have to deal with the loss of those two guys, Ricky Williams and David Boston. The Raiders, they've got Collins and Warren Sapp. The Bengals go to Carson Palmer. The Browns have Jeff Garcia and Kellen Winslow recently signed. And the Patriots, with one of the best outfits you'll ever see, bring Corey Dillon into the camp.
He probably bought that in Cincinnati.
Yeah, well, you know he did. Yeah, that was a good look. Oakland, you know, I got to tell you, I'm a little biased about Oakland, but I really think that they're going to have a good football team. I think Rich Gannon is back. He's going to play well. And new offense with Norv Turner. I expect them to do some big things.
Rod Smart gets a carry, his first of the night. So you believe it'll be Gannon and not Kerry Collins?
Yeah, I do. You know, no question down the road that Kerry Collins is going to be the guy, but I think that at least going into this season, it's going to be Rich Gannon's job. And some of the guys that they brought in, of course, they let Tim Brown go, and what that tells you is that they got some really good young wide receivers that can pick it up for them. And then the defensive guys that they've got, I think they'll do well.
That's the end of 3 in Carolina. Back after this from your local Fox station. 12th on the all-time sack list with 114 in his Hall of Fame career. Single-season sack leader as well. Michael Strahan is checking the rest of this one out from the sideline. Second down and 3 for Chris Winkie. Blitz coming. Panthers pick it up, and there was a miscommunication. Donald Hayes stopped, and Winkie threw it deep.
Donald Hayes, he ran the out route. Chris Winkie thinking that he was going to go deep. Donald Hayes, he's got an interesting story himself. He was the leading receiver for this team back in 2001 and decided to test free agency and went to New England. Was with the Patriots for a year, never quite fit in with them, was released, went to Jacksonville, and actually last year was out of football altogether, trying to make the squad here this year.
Third down and 3, another blitz. Winkie is flushed. Trying to find Seidman, and he gets a first down. Seidman, his tight end, was out there, but wasn't open, so Winkie took it.
You just can't emphasize enough how important this game is to a guy like Chris Winkie, who really is trying to get out of that number 3 quarterback position. And you would think that the job would be his, obviously, eventually, because Rodney Peete much older, but it's just about that time, I would imagine, or at least in my mind, that Chris Winkie would step up to be that number 2 guy.
Hey, talk about that 1-in-15 season. That was his rookie year. And then last year, not getting the opportunity, they went to Delhomme, and every Panther fan is happy they did. That is a terrific catch by Kerry Colbert. All-time leading receiver at USC. He had a big game last week and makes a catch good for 18 yards.
Well, and when coaches talk about Kerry Colbert and his abilities, one of the things that they talk about is his ability to catch the football. He always uses his hands. He stretches out there, does a great job, and unlike a lot of young receivers that come into the National Football League, he's not been overwhelmed with what he's been asked to do within the passing routes, and a lot of that has to do with his background and his training there at USC. Norm Chow, his offensive coordinator, spent 27 years at BYU and certainly understands the passing game.
More pressure for Winkie, and this time he is down. Raydell Lockhart was the first there, and there's a flag down in the secondary. Back near the 22. A loss of 7 on the sack.
There's no foul on the play for offensive pass interference. The quarterback had already been sacked. Second down.
There wasn't time to interfere. That's the old official jailbreak. This one's going to happen after the sack occurs.
Ooh.
Yep, offensive pass interference.
They wiped that away because Winkie was already down.
Hey, go, 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 go.
Scott McCready, who pushed off. Now second down and 17. Backfield more stunning up front for the Giants, and the pass is complete to Mangum. And Mangum's got a first down for Carolina. So Mangum, the starting tight end, is still in the game, and Winky is happy he's still out there. Coming up, Fox Saturday Baseball this weekend. The Red Sox and the White Sox, or the Indians and Twins, as they try to hang in there in the AL Central. Late games, Atlanta at Los Angeles. The surprising Dodgers with the lead in the NL West. Or the Mets at the Giants, who are leading the wild card race. First down and 10. Pass was to the sideline, and Colbert couldn't get to it.
All right, Cardinals and Yankees, we have those two. We know they're playing great. Who's the long shot coming out?
The long shot coming out is still the Chicago Cubs.
Just because of the pitching.
Yeah, I mean, if they get into a short divisional series with Wood, Pryor, although he hasn't pitched well, Wood, Pryor, Zambrano, Maddox, Clement. I mean, no team that could go to the postseason has that.
And all fans in the front row will have their hands tied behind their backs. Is that right?
They will evacuate the front row.
Okay.
If they're 5 outs away from the World Series. Handoff is to Rod Smart, and a loss on the play of 3. So what else? Big injuries around the NFL already. And told you Boston is out for the season. Anquan Bolden is going to miss some time with the knee injury. Andy Kalu, and he had a great year last year. 16 games started, 5.5 sacks, and yet there are more injuries along that defensive front for Philadelphia.
You know, in this one right here, John Jansen, that was absolutely a tough way to go for the Washington Redskins. So reliant on him, trying to get the push, trying to get the running game going, and just can't make up for his loss.
All of that plus Paris Hilton found her dog. So now you've got all of the information you need with the regular season fast approaching.
You know, you talk about John Jansen for the Washington Redskins, but, you know, look at what's happened there in Miami. I mean, Dave Wanstead, a lot of people thought that he should have lost his job a year ago. He's back for another season. A lot of pressure on him. Ricky Williams, that we touched on, he decides to retire. And now David Boston down. And it just seems like every time they think they're going to get something going, something bad happens. It's been a tough offseason.
52-yard try for Casey. He's got the distance. He's got the direction. He's hit from 55. Now he hits from 52. What a weapon. 3 more points on the board for Carolina. The reaction from John Fox. It's 2013 Panthers.
This Fox NFL special is brought to you by Dodge. You can take life as it comes, or you can grab life by the horns. Dodge. By Miller. Vote Miller for President of Beers. Good call. And by Visa, proud sponsor of the NFL.
Welcome back. 20-13, Carolina is out in front. Fourth quarter, 11:44 remaining, a 7-point game, and Casey hit from 52 after making good from 55 in the first half. And that's Curtis Keaton waiting for the kick.
A little American pride,
a little patriotic nasal strip. From the 1. To the far sideline, and a pretty good return. 25-yard return. It's 20-13. Carolina on top. Well, the Giants have the ball. They trail by 7, and they send Kurt Warner back onto the field. The night for Eli Manning. There are the statistics. But how did it look tonight for Eli Manning? He was pressured. He was hurried. He was blitzed. He handled a lot of things very well, and certainly did not look like a guy who was playing in his second professional game. Penalty flag on the play as Ponder makes the reception, and that's Wallace coming out to make the tackle. It's going to be an illegal shift. Let's look at the night for Eli Manning. One thing you should know about Manning when you see him, we had him talking earlier, he's a big guy. And I think you can be misled by just judging him by those Manning shoulders and the boyish look. I mean, he is a big, strong young man.
Joe is a big guy, and he's also much more intense than what he is perceived because of his demeanor. He's very much a student of the game, just like his brother, although he's not as open about it, but he's got a lot of great qualities, and that's why I think he's going to be a great player.
2nd down and 9, and the pass is complete to Ponder, who just took it away from Brandon Short.
But you do have to say, if Tom Coughlin was looking for someone to truly separate themselves in this game, I don't think that you can say Kurt Warner has lost the job or Eli Manning has won the job with anything that they've done out here. It's just, it's going to be one of those tie situations, and Tom Coughlin's just going to have to make the call, and I think he has to make it within the next week.
I think Warner looks good.
Sure.
Not just playing not to lose the job. He's been impressive. He's made good throws. He makes another. That's Ponder who gets flipped, but not before he gets 8 in the 1st down.
Well, Kurt has looked good. I mean, there's no question about that, specifically because of some of the players that he's playing with right now. He's in there battling, but, you know, I agree, Chris. I mean, I don't think if you're waiting for one of these guys to separate themselves and so that then you can make the decision, I don't think that's going to be the case. I mean, Tom Coughlin and this offensive staff, they're going to have to make a decision as far as how they're going to handle Peyton or Eli Manning and where they're going to go with it, and then just make the decision, and that's the way it's going to be.
Wallace with pressure on Warner, and Warner goes down. Penalty flag on the play.
Well, he does take some hits, doesn't he?
Oh.
You know, really, though, Troy, nobody's in a better position than you are to analyze this situation. You were the #1 draft pick. You came out. You were thrown in the very first game.
There's no foul on the play for holding. The quarterback was being sacked. 2nd down.
Well, that and we weren't a real good football team either. You know, it wasn't like we had a bunch of all-pro offensive linemen. Now later we had
that applies too.
Yeah, exactly.
Really, it does.
Well, that's exactly right. And so, you know, to me, it's whether or not the coaches are willing to sacrifice some wins in order to get Eli out on the field, or do they want to maybe try to win some games early with Kurt?
Handoff is to Chris Douglas, and over the right side he gets 1. Archie Manning, Peyton and Eli's father, was the 2nd overall pick to Plunkett. See what he did in his rookie year, and then Peyton, 26 touchdowns, 28 interceptions. And the one thing Peyton talked about with Eli was not so much being the starter on opening day, but not sitting on the bench the entire season like Carson Palmer had to do last year with the Bengals.
And I would agree with that. I think it's absolutely imperative that Eli Manning gets significant playing time this year.
3rd down and 14. 3-man rush. Warner fires, has his man pass, but he's short of the 1st down.
But I think the one thing that the average fan will not understand fully is the difference between how Eli Manning looks in an exhibition game where you don't have all the elaborate blitz schemes, where you don't have all the starters in there all the time, and playing on opening day in the NFL.
How about the reverse of that? How about how Kurt Warner looks in this case against the 2nd string defense of the Carolina Panthers, secondary included, working with a lot of starters on his offensive line. Here comes a blitz, quick setup and throw, and that's Hampton. Warner's got the only shot at him. Touchdown, Carolina. I think he set that up pretty well. "51-yard return by Hampton, who had an interception last week against the Redskins."
Well, you see Hampton with the break that he had on the route. He was reading Kurt Warner the entire way. When Kurt goes 3 steps, he immediately starts driving on the ball. There was no way this ball was not going to be intercepted. He's reading through the receiver to the quarterback and just got an outstanding jump.
William Hampton, a guy that the Panthers like so much, they're going to try him at safety some just so they can keep him around. So the veteran Warner makes the throw, and it's William Hampton with the interception return for the touchdown. Kurt Warner talking to Jamar Taylor about the route and the interception as Sauerbrunn kicks it away, and they evidently weren't ready for that kick. I mean, I think the average fan, Troy, would say, well, that was just a terrible throw by Kurt Warner, but there's more to it than that.
Yeah, there is, and Kurt is right. That Taylor on the route, he's running a hitch route, and as you saw Kurt explaining, he turned for the ball, but then he started sliding out towards the boundary, and it opened up the lane. You know, Hampton got a good break on it, but it also opened up the lane. At worst, you're just hoping for an incompletion, and you know, those are things that they work out. Those are things that Kurt's got to get used to as he gets more and more acclimated to the Giants offense, along with some of these receivers. Now, obviously, if Kurt's playing, you know, these aren't the guys who are going to be on the field with him catching the ball, but it's all part of preseason.
And you saw William Hampton reading Kurt Warner. He saw the short drop, and when he saw the three-step drop, he broke immediately on the ball and made a great play. But if you're looking to make a move, that gives Tom Coughlin a reason why.
Another return by Keaton out to the 22. And we check in again with Pam Oliver.
Okay, Joey had his first Pro Bowl after a 12-sack season, and Mike Rucker, all everybody talks about is how much better the defense is after an already stellar year. How is that possible?
Well, we were gelling together more, and we got another year under our belt together. And so we just keep building on that. And the good thing about it is that we got room to improve.
You got room to improve, and you also got Mark Fields back. What did that mean for your unit?
It was huge. You've seen that his play tonight, like 2 sacks, some tackles. That's the feed that we know. He's back, and he's going to help us out a lot.
So you got an up-close and personal look at Eli Manning tonight. What are some of your thoughts on this rookie sensation?
He made some good throws. He's got a quick delivery. You know, with time, he's going to be a great one. You know, we just try to get back there to rattle him a little bit, but he got the ball out there quick.
Needless to say, getting to the Super Bowl, not able to complete that task. Is that something that you guys talk about a lot? Is that the goal, to get back there and to kind of erase that bad memory?
Well, it's definitely the goal to get back there but have a different result. And, you know, this is part of it tonight, getting better as a team. And so we've got a good start, and we're on our way.
Okay, and the move is to get a little bit more attention from Mike Rucker. They don't think people know enough about him. Okay, thanks. Back to you, Joe.
All right, Pam, thanks. Whistles before the snap. Jesse Palmer has taken over quarterback.
74 offense. 5-yard penalty. Still second down.
Rucker is only 5 sacks shy of the Panthers record, which is held by Kevin Green. Coming off that first Pro Bowl, and a guy who learned from Reggie White, a guy who learned from Sean Gilbert, a guy who learned from Eric Swan, and somebody who took obviously a lot of information in and has turned it into a very good career. Second down and 8. Palmer has won over Tom Coughlin with throws like that. That's Joe Dean Davenport, the tight end, for a first down.
Does it surprise you at all? And I know there's a set rotation that when Palmer is going to come in and Kurt Warner is going to go out, and it's all part of a big plan. But does it surprise you at all that Kurt Warner throws the pick for the touchdown, that you don't give him one more series?
No.
No? Okay.
No, I mean, Kurt Warner's a 2-time league MVP. I mean, I know they want to get Jesse Palmer sometime. There's 7 minutes left in the game.
I don't know. That's just fueling the fire with that one.
Catch is made by Avion Black, and he's got a Giants first down. Palmer was a guy that everybody just wrote off because they thought, well, Tom Coughlin will see him on The Bachelor. He's choosing between Jessica and Tara. How can his mind be on football?
I was wondering how long it would take you to
that was the thing?
I was wondering how long that would take you to come up when
he's got to get on the field. He's got to get on the field.
Oh, you didn't disappoint.
Oh, there you go. Glad you know me in year 3. The point is that Palmer, a lot of people thought, well, he'll be out of here quick. And he's been very good after getting 3 starts last year, having a quarterback rating of 58.5, and he's been impressive in camp and in the game.
He has, and not only has he been good, but, you know, obviously going into training camp, the talk was about Kurt Warner and Eli Manning, And yet Jesse Palmer, he hasn't stepped aside. I mean, this guy's been jumping in there. He's been getting his reps. He's been playing well. He's not going away, and he really wants to be a quarterback on this team, and he's worked hard at it.
And really playing for the backup position, because you can't imagine Kurt Warner being here more than a year. So he's fighting for his job as the backup for next year.
That pass is batted down and nearly picked off by Demaine Duckett. We've called his name a couple of times tonight. Duckett, a free agent. And he has made his presence felt in this second preseason game.
Well, there's no question that these young defensive linemen for Carolina, when they get a chance to see a Mike Rucker or Chris Jenkins and Julius Peppers and those guys, they're able to learn a lot from them in training camp, in the mini camps, and there's a standard that has certainly been set amongst that group. And now, at least here in this second half, it's up for these young guys in order to maintain it.
Palmer is flushed again, pressured by Duckett, and Palmer throws it away. That's all he could do. And time for a Giants punt. The helmet comes off, the ladies swoon. I mean, he's strikingly handsome.
Well, whatever happened, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's all right.
But who did he pick?
I don't know. But I know whoever he picked, Jessica or Tara.
But they're not married, are they?
No, they don't even talk anymore.
Okay. I should have just asked my wife. I know she watched it.
Hank Poteet with a fair catch. We'll be back to talk about American Idol, Survivor, and other reality shows after this. All of us at Fox and people across the National Football League and beyond were saddened at the news of brain cancer, the diagnosis for Bob Tisch recently. He and his late brother Larry, a couple of guys from Brooklyn who really put their time, money, and efforts into giving back to the city. And Mr. Tisch is part of a very classy ownership partnership with Wellington Mara, who is here tonight in Carolina watching this game. And so we all send out our thoughts, prayers, and good wishes to the Tisch family.
And the amazing job that he has done rebuilding the athletic fields around New York has been an incredible asset to that area.
Program called Take the Field, and it has made a difference. Joey Harris on the carry and a loss of 1 as Martin Chase made the stop. Rodney Peete is in. Last week it was Peete, the second guy, first guy off the bench behind Delhomme, and this week it's Peete cleaning up for Chris Weinke, and we saw some good things out of Weinke.
Well, we did, yeah. And you know, Rodney, again, obviously the starter last year in game 1, did not play the rest of the year, but you know, he is the guy, the old man that they feel like they can rely on. He's a steady influence for this team.
That pass is complete to McCready.
You know, it's amazing when you think back to the exhibition season this time 1 year ago. These three guys were tied. I mean, literally coming out of camp, they didn't know who they thought was the best quarterback, and Jake Delhomme was just sort of part of the mix, and Rodney Peete ended up the starter, and Chris Weinke thought he was the backup. And now just one season later, they go off to the Super Bowl, and Jake Delhomme has a big contract, and everything's settled.
I will say this, Marty Herney, the general manager, deserves a lot of credit. There was some competition to get Delhomme. They didn't just totally luck into him. They gave him a 2-year, $4 million deal. Dallas was interested in him. Herney wanted him. They got him. And he gets the Panthers to the Super Bowl, then gets a parade back home in Breaux Bridge, Louisiana. And here's the scene back in February. The entire town out to salute a really good guy, Jake Delhomme. And anybody who knows him has to be happy for his success.
Oh, you can't help but not be. I mean, this guy, he is the same guy every time we talk to him. He's unflappable, just really a great individual.
This is Deloach. He drops another. He muffed one last week, and he gets it across the 45. Tell you what, Carolina better come out of the gate ready to go, because they have a tough schedule really all year, but to start the season, a Monday night against Green Bay, at Kansas City. Then they have a bye. Then they are at home against Atlanta, at Denver, at Philadelphia. I mean, that's difficult.
I don't know. I think those teams better be ready to go. From what I've seen of the Carolina Panthers tonight, they've shown the great defense. They look good back there in the secondary, although they're very young. Dan Morgan, what a Super Bowl he had. 25 tackles, I think, was the number in the Super Bowl. This team is pretty solid across the board.
Palmer with his second series. Fires, and it's nearly picked off by Cooper after it hit the hand of Joe Dean Davenport. And Chris, you can just see the way that this team's playing with great confidence. And, you know, last year, of course, they were hoping that they would have a good year, but they really didn't know how good they would be. They certainly didn't anticipate that they would go all the way to the Super Bowl. And once a team starts having that kind of success, like Carolina had, you know, you can just see it continue to grow. You go through an offseason, guys are excited about coming back. They expect to be good, and usually that's why you go out and you play well. Handoff is to Douglas. Next week on Friday night, we're going to get a look at Joe Gibbs and the Washington Redskins. Mark Brunell, Patrick Ramsey, a lot of fans in Washington, I think for good reason, are fans of Patrick Ramsey with all he had to endure last year. Mark Brunell, who used to play quarterback for Tom Coughlin, brought in. And we'll get a look at them taking on the Rams as that pass is incomplete for Davenport.
My prediction is Mark Brunell has a big year. I really think he will, from the standpoint that Joe Gibbs has taken a lot of quarterbacks that hadn't had tremendous success in the league, and his belief is you protect the quarterback. At all costs, you protect the quarterback. If you have to block 8, if you have to block 9. And what happens is over a period of time, those quarterbacks gain that confidence. And we've seen it Mark Rippon was a guy, Doug Williams, all those guys ended up having great success.
4th down and 6, and the pass is caught for a first down by Chris Davis. Good pass, very good catch by Davis for a first down. Chris, and the other thing that Joe Gibbs likes to do is he likes to have a power running game with the counter trade. And certainly the trade for Clinton Portis is a great asset for that football team. You know they're going to be able to run the football well. I think they're going to make great strides, much like what Dallas did last year.
My guess is, though, they don't get off to a great start, but by the end of the season, they really get it rolling. Because just watching the exhibition games, I just haven't seen them understand what Joe Gibbs' offense is all about, at least from a standpoint of trying to run the football, and they're just going to get better and better and better as they go along.
Well, and how about going back to when Daniel Snyder was able to talk Joe Gibbs into coming out of retirement and go back into coaching, and gosh, he's about the only guy he could have hired that would have brought optimism to that club. 2nd down and 10, and that pass is dropped by Davis.
I think it's more than optimism in D.C. right now, don't you? It's a frenzy up there with Joe coming back.
Meanwhile, it appears that Tom Coughlin will have his hands full here with the Giants. First of all, with the injuries, with the backup receivers, Carter and McKnight, with the linebackers who were all out, Green, Bryson, and Emmons, who was so good for Philadelphia before breaking his leg, trying to come back. And then the quarterback decision. That pass is out of the reach of Black, with Eddie Jackson defending.
Well, it's pretty obvious, Joe, that this New York Giants team still has a lot of work to do. Now, granted, as we've talked about, they don't have all their players out there. They've got a number of guys that are banged up, but even if those guys were out on the field, I don't know that the outcome and what we've seen tonight would be a lot different. I know they're going to be breaking camp here within the next 7 to 8 days, and I bet if Tom Coughlin had his choice, they'd be spending about another 4 weeks and 2-a-days to try to get ready for this season, but they don't have that kind of time, and they got to make up a lot of ground in a short period.
Think any players would call the league on that? There's another one. They may jump, but man, somebody's going to end up on their back. Miller came across. Was he drawn? He doesn't care.
Encroachment, 78, defense, 5-yard penalty, still 4th down.
You know, you can't emphasize enough that preseason really means nothing. I mean, absolutely nothing in the grand scheme of things, but just watching the Giants, there are some holes out there, and maybe that's the strongest argument for Eli Manning playing, that if you're not going to be a top contender this season, why not get the guy some playing time and get him ready for next season?
Another 4th down attempt. Play clock is down to 6. Up. Panthers were coming, and the Giants left the line a little too early.
You know, I would probably disagree with you somewhat, Chris. I know what you're saying as far as
prior
the
to the
games.
snap, false start, 64, offense. 5-yard penalty, still 4th down.
As far as the games themselves not being meaningful and they mean nothing, but boy, I've always believed as a player that the preseason and the games and training camp and all that goes into that is vital for the success of a football team. Just bringing a team closer together, probably more important now than what it was even when I was playing, just because of the turnover from season to season within these organizations.
4th down and 10 for Jesse Palmer. Floats it, has a man, has a first down. Avion Black. And gets a hit from Vinny Churchu at the end.
Well, Jesse Palmer trying to, again, stake claim to at least being the 3rd guy on this team and just trying to make something happen to get them back into this ball game, and is able to get the completion to Avion Black.
It's a darn nice throw, moving to your left, turning your shoulders around and threading it in there.
So is the best quarterback that you've seen tonight Jesse Palmer?
No.
First team timeout, Carolina.
Carolina needs a timeout just to try to figure out a way to stop Jesse Palmer. Here, I read this during baseball. I have to read this during football.
Got Detroit.
I think so.
Let's see what he's got.
This fall, look at this, Chris. Does this bring back memories?
Oh, I used to love doing these
when they promoted you and you got a chance to put your little suit on and make funny
see,
motions.
that was good stuff there.
Look at that. You miss it, don't you?
We spent hours doing that.
Jimmy, put your hands out. Terry, you duck.
I guarantee you, it's like, all right, Terry, on this one, duck quickly. All right, this one, duck slowly. All right, this one, turn and duck. This one, turn the other way and duck. Takes about 6 hours to do those.
Well, it's worth every minute of it.
Sure is. How about Terry's new segment? I like that one.
I did too.
That was good.
Putting Strahan on the spot, who's in the picture there. Coughlin or Fossil? He didn't answer. Smart. We knew that.
You better say Coughlin next time.
I think we can get Coughlin and just say Warner or Manning. That'd go well, wouldn't it?
That's for Terry to do. Chris Davis can't make the connection. What I was supposed to read is that this fall America's #1 pregame show will return and will take you all the way through Super Bowl 39 in Jacksonville, Florida.
There you go.
Our journey begins on September 12th, only on Fox.
Good work, Joe.
There are the numbers for the quarterbacks tonight. Manning had to do it. Come with an asterisk next to it. He had to do it against his very good Carolina defense. He did not appear rattled at all. 3:11 left, 2nd down and 10. Well, they've been coming all night. Doesn't matter who's in there. Rasmussen and Churchu.
Yeah, they really have, and it's and you're not just seeing it here tonight, but you're seeing it in all these preseason games. It's really somewhat surprising to me that teams start blitzing as early as what they do. Usually it's the 3rd game when they start bringing a lot of their packages, but you know, Chris, watching some of those games in the first week of preseason play, shoot, they were bringing a lot of blitzes even back then.
Well, they're trying to figure out if these other guys can play, so I guess Mike Turkovac wants to see what kind of blitzers they are.
There's Turkovac, the defensive coordinator of the Panthers. Well, they are laying some wood on these guys, too. That was Davis on the reception and Marcus Floyd on the hit, and there's a penalty flag down in the secondary. An intimate gathering of family and friends of the players left here in Carolina.
That guy will be here all night.
Contact, 23, defense. 5-yard penalty, automatic, 1st down.
Boo.
I just can't help but think those guys at some point put all that stuff on, and then they turn to somebody and say, how's it look? Right? And somebody has to say, it looks good.
Looks good. You need more paint on your ears.
Yeah, looks good. Let's go.
Let's go, honey. Warm up the truck. Palmer hands to Douglas. And on 1st down, a gain of 3. Phillip Rivers. He's still waiting to get the right deal to head into camp with San Diego.
I tell you, and it kind of, you know, it was an unpopular thing that happened when Eli Manning decided that that's not where he wanted to go. But gosh, it's unfortunate for Phillip Rivers, but I got to believe Eli's very thankful that he got out.
So's Archie, so's his agent.
Well, you can tell just talking with Eli last night. I mean, he's such a low-key kid. I can't imagine. It wasn't his idea. Can I just put it that way? Is that safe to say? All the maneuvering and probably a little bigger plan amongst the bigger group of people advising him. Would that be fair, Troy Aikman, to say?
Well, I would say that Eli was involved in helping make that decision. Now, how the whole thing was orchestrated and positioned and maneuvered, yeah, I would say that that Eli had what they call handlers that took care of that.
Advisors helping him with that one.
Tonight's game being produced by Richie Zients and directed by Artie Kemner. Our thanks to Steve Horn here in the booth. Our technical producer is Dave Hill. Production coordinator is John Ward. Technical director Rich Basili. The audio mixer is Fred Aldis. Associate directors are Greg Scopatoni and Derek Manning. Broadcast associates Judy Wong and Jeremy Green. Pre-game show produced by Scott Ackerson, directed by Bob Levy. The associate director Stephanie Medina. Studio technical supervisor Jack Simmons. Senior producer of Fox Sports Bill Brown, and the executive producers of Fox Sports Ed Gorin and David Hill. Palmer fires. The pass is complete. That's Tyree, and he has a first down just outside the 1. Mention everybody that's here and everybody that's awake right now in Century City in Los Angeles. Our thanks to Ed Svita, our statistician here in the booth, and Dave Schwalbe, who is going to celebrate a birthday tomorrow, our spotter.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Schwalbe.
Schwalbe needs a nickname. I keep hearing about Malibu Kelly Hayes. Douglas can't get over the top.
Tell you what, though, if you're looking for a short yardage back, that's a pretty good effort right there.
Even better effort on the other end. Giants are spending a timeout. They are left with 1.
Touchdown, onside kick, another touchdown. We can get a little overtime out of this.
Harrell cleaned up at the end of it. It looked like Duckett maybe. Yeah, Duckett. I like that guy. Demain Duckett.
He's been all over the field tonight. He's done a heck of a job pressuring the passer. He's played exceptionally well. He'll certainly make an impact on these coaches when they go back in and they watch the tape tomorrow.
So now from just inside the 1 and 2nd and goal. Jesse Palmer trying to get the Giants' first point since Ron Dane got a 3rd try at a touchdown run. This is Chris Douglas, and he is in for the score to make it 27-19. That's right, Chris. Feel it.
But don't anybody celebrate with him.
Don't anybody join him, or it's 15 yards.
Right there on the spot. Good, 2 good efforts, though. I like both of those runs. He got down in there and plowed his way into the end zone.
Douglas, who is from North Carolina, as we play here in Charlotte, went to Duke and is the Duke career rushing leader. Free agent. Minute 49 remaining, and it's a 7-point game as France has had a pretty good night. The first 5 games for the New York Giants. They have what is quote unquote called an easy schedule. They start at Philadelphia, then they host Washington. We'll be there for that. Cleveland, at Green Bay, at Dallas.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, everybody, when they look at the schedule, they want to try to determine, you know, how difficult the schedule is going to be. They've played, you know, they've got so many playoff teams that are on their schedule, and I don't know that you really know anymore. I mean, you've got to believe Philadelphia is going to have a good football team, but, you know, Washington, Cleveland, of course, Green Bay would be expected to be in the hunt, but anymore, I mean, you look at last year, people that had Carolina on their schedule, they would have penciled that in as a victory and thought that that would have been an easy game, and clearly none of those games were easy. So I think it's so early in training camp and preseason to try to say how difficult the team's schedule is going to be before they even get into the year and find out what teams are really emerging.
Mr. Richardson has to be thrilled with what he's seeing on the heels of that NFC Championship.
And they're for real. There's no question about it. You have a long shot on your radar screen yet there, Mr. Aikman?
You know, I tell you what, my dark horse is Jacksonville. I like them.
The onside kick goes right into the gut of John Ollinger, and the Carolina Panthers will take over. Do you know, all the youngins out there, that Jerry Richardson was a very good football player? December 27, 1959, Johnny Unitas hits Jerry Richardson for a 12-yard touchdown to give Baltimore a 21-9 lead in the NFL championship game. The Colts would go on to win 31-16 for their second straight championship. Jerry Richardson is not only in the North Carolina Hall of Fame, he's in the South Carolina Hall of Fame.
Popular guy around here, good man.
Certainly is, and he's done a heck of a job with this organization, and the job that he's done as far as putting the team together and going out there and competing. They did it early when he first took over as an expansion team, of course, last year, and they're going to continue to do good things here.
He rewarded John Fox with a 3-year contract extension for over $3 million a year.
You think anybody in New York's wishing that maybe they had thought about doing that with John Fox for the Giants? That guy has proven to me that he is one heck of a football coach. Came down here, built his defense the first year, turned out to be the #2 defense in the league that year. Came back with some offensive help the next season and right to the Super Bowl.
And won't they love, and won't he love, the whole we're not getting any respect angle that he can work for this Carolina Panthers team, because he's an outstanding motivator.
Yeah, he is, and that's why he's had his teams ready to play each and every Sunday. And you know, coaches that are like that, coaches that are able to motivate their players, they use whatever methods they have to in order to accomplish that. And you're right, Joe. You can bet that the theme of us not getting enough respect will be used over and over.
That's Pete, not able to get the snap, and the ball is loose. And it is third down as Carolina falls on top of it.
That would have made it a little interesting right there. We have something else to read?
Not yet.
All right. You're just warming it up?
I am. I'm practicing.
Okay.
This is Joe Buck for Troy Aikman, Chris Collinsworth, Pam Oliver. That's coming up later.
Okay. Well, I can't wait for that.
And 1:11 and counting.
All right. We'll count them down here. Like New Year's Eve.
Troy's all packed up, ready to go. You're not? Mentally packed. Physically, that'll happen. 15 seconds on the play clock. They must have had a problem with it. If you're Carolina, just let it keep on winding down. There's 40 seconds and counting left in the game clock.
The official did that. He wants to make sure this is the last play.
You think? Giants do not have a timeout as Joey Harris gets the carry, and that will do it. Here, you read this verbatim.
This is Joe Buck for Troy Aikman, Chris Collinsworth, and Pam Oliver saying so long from Charlotte.
Not yet.
What?
Not yet.
No. I was getting into that.
Jesse Palmer and Jake Delhomme get together at midfield. We saw a lot of Eli Manning, and enough to realize why very quietly they are trying to temper their enthusiasm for a guy that may be even better than advertised.
Give it to us, Joe.
This is Joe Buck for Troy Aikman, Chris Collinsworth, and Pam Oliver. So long from Charlotte. Once again, the final score 27-20 Carolina. They're 2-0 this preseason. Up next, the postgame show with JB, Terry, Howie, and Jimmy right after these words. For more information on tonight's game and the latest NFL news, log on to foxsports.com. So long from Carolina.
This week on the Fox Saturday Baseball Game of the Week, the Red Sox look to keep pace in a wild card race when they battle the White Sox, or the Indians square off against the Twins, or the Braves and Dodgers meet in a possible playoff preview, or the Mets take on the Giants. Coverage begins at 1 Eastern and Pacific right here on Fox. As we welcome you back inside of the studio here, the full house intact, and I guess the synopsis of the game, Jimmy, Eli's sharp, Carolina still good.
Carolina very, very good. And as far as Eli, he showed me the poise that he can handle this offense. And there's no question in anybody's mind that he's going to become the starter. The question is, when will he become the starter? I think with this football team, for him to get better, he needs to be the starter this week. Get ready for the opener.
Would you announce it if you were the coach of the Giants this week?
I would, have time tomorrow to talk to Warner and also talk to the Bachelor, and then I'd say, Eli, you're the guy. You're going to be the starter.
And Carolina, the concern with a team that goes to the Super Bowl for the first time, a young football team, John Fox and Marty Herney have done such a great job assembling this group. They built from the line. You've got Peppers at left defensive end, Rutgers, Jenkins, great group. Fields comes in. This is a team that you might say, going to the Super Bowl in that first year of success, they say, are they going to rest on their laurels? This is a hungry football team. You saw it in the preseason. You've seen it all year long in training camp so far. This is a team that's going to go a long way. They have a great formula for success. 2 running backs, good offensive, defensive line.
I like Giants, and I like the fact that Eli should start. Go ahead and announce it. And next week's show, I'm excited to see Joe Gibbs on the sideline for our game next week. That's a little tidbit there. I'm looking forward to that. Having been at their training camp, a lot of training camps this year.
One of your travels, right?
One of my travels. I was there.
Where were you guys? On your jet.
Jimmy will be in New York this week, by the way.
Very nice segue provided by TV to let you know that, hey, some of the NFL's the best are preparing for the 2004 season right here. That will be the case next week when my Redskins will take on the Rams. Hey, I've always said that. Be tuned in. We'll see.
Now that you're
next week.
Jimmy will be in New York Wednesday.